Okay. All right, and we are live, and welcome to episode 28 of the Clutch Kick. It is the first drifting podcast ever created.
The first of the first with many
The first,
firsts.
the first, yes. Okay, so the first drifting podcast, the first one in Australia, and the first one about drifting as well.
Yeah,
Many
and like
firsts.
the first one to go live into people's homes.
Yep, and the first to have also a interview with someone at an event.
Yeah. I think we're also just the first to be first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah. Hey, we can actually claim we've been the first to do 28 episodes back-to-back weeks. So
Really?
yeah, nobody else has done that many. Not in Australia.
in our format, whatever it was called. Is it format?
Yeah, I
In
don't
this
even
way.
think. I don't even think Maximum Driftcast has managed to do 28 in a row. Not weekly.
I have no idea. I only listen to it as recordings whenever I do drift trips, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, week to week.
Anyway, that was just a stab at another podcast that claimed it was the first. So that's all. Anyway, this week we've got Andrew Date as our guest, who will be talking about himself as well as his adventures in Japan, I guess, because he's born and raised in Australia, and then he moved over there.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't look all that Japanese, so.
Yeah, but he could have been born, say, in I don't know, South Africa, moved to Australia, then back
I could have
to
internet that
England.
wasn't shit, and I could hear you.
Okay. He's dropped out again.
Lost
So we're having lots of issues with internet. So my internet's super slow, and Gerg's internet just drops out randomly. So
Yeah, well, my mum called a technician to get Optus to come and have a look at it, and they knocked on the door and they said, "Oh yeah, somebody fucked up something at the node. It should be fixed in 24 to 48 hours." That was 48 hours ago.
okay.
As it dropped out again.
All right, we'll just start off with some news, I guess, and Greg's gonna go through some of that.
Yeah. So yesterday there was a post put on Facebook based around I guess, what's been going down with Port Macquarie. We sort of addressed it last week, but there's still a whole bunch of rumour mill flying around. We had heard and been told originally that the guys up at Rally had something to do with around the bash causing some issues, but since then there'd been nothing. But we have close to the guys Coffs Harbour who's spoken to them. Oh yeah, I'm probably dropping out really badly too. Had guys speak to the owners up at Rally, and yeah, they had been contacted directly from the guys at that track to try and find out what approvals and all that sort of stuff they needed. But it's been the local cops that aren't happy with the fact that they haven't got all the DA. Well, they've got DA approval, but they don't. I'm just dropping out fucking heaps, aren't I?
Yeah.
I should just turn my. Can I turn the quality down of like my?
No, you can't do it on Skype anymore. You used to be able to adjust the quality, but they changed that now.
Ah, fuck.
So, because they assume that we have really good internet all around the world.
Well, yeah, it's like an Estonian program or something, right? They've probably got good internet in Estonia, yet we can't get shit here. As I drop out again.
Yeah. Anyway, to continue
All right,
on.
fuck it. I'm not gonna have the stream going.
I dropped out again.
Oh,
All right, I've killed my stream, so I can't see the comments anymore. Somebody else is gonna have to filter comments.
yeah, I'll have a look.
Okay.
Back to my, and I'm probably dropped out again. Fuck me.
it looks alright. Oh no, there it goes. Okay. You must have a delay. It's so weird. I can't believe you can actually announce when he's going to drop out. All right.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. Look at his face.
I'm think I'm gonna turn my fucking camera off.
Nah, don't do that.
But
We'll
it
get
just
more
keeps
complaints
dropping
then.
out.
No, we'll get more complaints
I
then.
can't even. But I can't. Yeah, but I can't hear. Like this is like that other
Because-
test. It's gonna be like the other drift stream that didn't exist because their internet sucked.
I think we've
Alright,
got better
so
quality then.
back-
Yeah.
Yeah, back to my point before it took a shit again. Yeah, look, that track up at Port has been in contact with the guys at Rally, trying to get all their approvals through and asking for advice on how to get their approvals through. So, don't be spitting fire at Rally. Don't boycott Rally. Don't do anything like that until there's actual proper information through from that happening. As far as we're aware, and from guys who are pretty close to the track owners, that's not the issue. As soon as I see you guys stop moving, I know I'm cool.
The funny thing is, we get enough of the video so you can see to tell us that you're going to drop out, and then you drop out.
Yeah, you know, like a few seconds before.
Yeah.
Well, can you throw some warning at me? Like, you're about to drop out. Fuck. Just like,
Oh. No, you see it before we do. So you see us drop out, and then you say,
Okay.
"Oh shit, it's going to drop out," and then we hear that, and then you drop out.
because I stopped hearing like normal noises from you guys, so then it drops out.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Was there anything else that went on? I didn't.
Watch the Russian Drift series. I didn't really.
Oh yeah, that was pretty cool.
Like one of the courses, but the other courses, I thought was cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that event was pretty cool. I thought the variety of cars there was cool compared to like even D1 Japan and stuff, because there was like a few ISs. There was a Lada that was totally off its head that wasn't much Lada. All sorts of other sort of Japanese and European cars. So I think almost a better range than what FD has, and definitely a better range than what FD Japan has. So
Yeah,
no, I
and
thought it was a pretty cool event.
you were telling us a fun fact that where
Yeah,
they actually
where they ran, the corner that they were running was right outside the arena that I competed Olympics in. So I thought that was pretty cool to see that. And yeah, we spent 3 weeks sort of in and out of that venue. So to see it used for that now is pretty cool. It sort of makes me want to go back a little bit. So maybe one day I'll get invited to drift that circuit, and then I can say I did both in the same place.
Yeah, and then Daigo had a lot of issues.
Daigo had lots of Daigos.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I did. Did you saw him back it into the wall, right? Like that was just.
Yeah, we
I don't know
had
if
a
he ended up on
discussion
the
about
dirty.
that.
Yeah, I don't know if he ended up on the dirty stuff on the outside and just sort of flicked it in too late, and then just
To me,
slid in on the marbles.
To me, I thought he slipped on the what motorbikes do when they break on the painted lines. They just lock up because it just gained angle like incredibly quickly, and he wasn't slowing down. The other guy, like one of the other people, was saying that they reckon the Super in front of him slowed down, but it looks like he was, the Super wasn't like accelerating very quickly, but it was accelerating, if that makes sense. So it wasn't like he sort of had to slam on the brakes and that's what spun him around. I think it just spun on him. So the painted line, or maybe there's water, oil, who knows.
But I'm pretty sure that's the 1000 car, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's the mid. Yeah, so I would imagine that car would rotate different compared to his other cars. So in a situation like that, I'm pretty sure it'd snap backwards, right, with a little bit more weight pushed towards the back compared to his normal JZXs or normal cars that he'd drive. Wouldn't that make it pivot more around the front and not so prone to snapping? Or
no, the other thing was that he came off the brakes. So if you watch the video, he was on the brakes, he came off, and usually when that happens, you would put your foot in the power and you push away from the wall. but it just didn't seem to go. Like I'm pretty sure the whole car was sliding, or like there was something not giving traction, and that's what it was.
Yeah, I guess he's running good rides, so maybe that's it.
I've never used them. I don't know. Okay. He just dropped out again.
I'm back. It's all right.
Okay. All right.
That's
Cool.
all
Okay.
right. And then he had some engine bay fire on the second round the next day, so that was entertaining. But that fire didn't actually look that bad. The picture that ended up on Instagram, I think, was he rolled around for ages with it on fire, and the fire looked huge. And then as soon as he stopped, the fire sort of just smoldered and wasn't that big. So
Yeah.
Not such a big deal, I don't think.
No. Nope. Actually, this might be better. No, he's gone again. Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's. Is that all for the news, or should we?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think that's all I got.
All right. Cool. Okay. Well, let's move on to our guest, Andrew. Now, I'm not sure where to start. So, the first time I heard about you, Andrew, was I think when we were leaving Japan, or we were in Japan. I heard about this guy moving over, and you've got to stop doing that, Greg. Okay. And I heard about this guy moving over. He's from Sydney, and saying apparently he'd been to Japan before, but I never really bumped into him. I don't think anyway, unless I've forgotten.
Well, you are a jerk, so.
Yeah, I am. I know that. So anyway, sorry. And then the first time, I think I actually saw your car there because you were there the same time as you're meeting up with some of the guys from Wollongong. I think, is that right?
Ibisu, or
Sorry.
I'm not sure. Was that at Ibisu or?
Yeah, that'd be
No?
sweet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I met up with. It's hard because I went to a lot of Matsuri, so I don't know which one. Because I did meet up with the Wollongong guys twice, I think.
Yeah.
In 2016.
Okay. Yeah, that's the trip. But
Yeah.
anyway, well, anyway, let's just start off with the start. So, did a bit of introduction about you, like how you came into drifting, or like you can even go back to your primary school age if you really want to, but sort of a little bit relevant. Just let us know how you started in Sydney, or how you got into drifting, and sort of your journey from there.
All right. Well, so my dad used to do a lot of mechanical stuff from home, a lot of like building and maintaining race cars from home. So I sort of grew up with a lot of, like circuit racing, that sort of a background. And that rolled into go-karting at around, would have been 8 or 9 years old. Not competing, just like get a spare weekend, go out, have fun sort of thing.
Yep.
And then I did a couple of... Actually, no, I found out drifting. So I would have been about 12 or 13 when I found out about drifting. There was a workshop next door to my dad's workshop, and the two guys in there, they used to go out to Oran Park. They had a, I can't remember who they were actually. Yeah, anyway, like that, I found out through them. Like, people used to go out there and drift every Friday night, whatever it was. But like, I never really, like the cars were very, like, from what I was used to seeing, like from a race car, it was nothing. Like, it was just like matte black, like cut springs, like everything you should never do, like these guys were doing. But like, I went out and had a look a few times, and it was like just really fun, and like it looked really like you could get involved quite easily. And then so I started getting pretty interested in that, and then I got a DVD from a birthday, I think it was a video option DVD from, I think it was 2005 at Irwindale round, the one we went to the States.
Oh, okay.
And that was like the first time I'd seen it properly, like properly built cars, like with Japanese styling, and it was just really, really cool. Like, just like the variation of cars. Like you'd have little 8.6s struggling to get through the course, and then you have like a big chaser drifting the whole bank, and like it just looked really fun. And I was like, yeah, that's 100%. That's what I'm gonna do.
All right, that's cool.
So yeah, that's how I got into it, I guess. And then I just saved up throughout high school pretty much. Did a bit of BMX as a pastime, I guess. And then I bought an A86 when I got my L's. And yeah, just once I got my P's, just drove that at Eastern Creek, doing wet pan peanut nights for probably 2 years, I think, yeah. And then, yeah, I just went through a whole bunch of cars pretty much, and
Yeah,
I had an
noticed
RX-7
that.
that I was
Yeah.
building for a while, so I sort of had a few cars like in between to keep me entertained, I guess. And then, yeah, I sort of got the RX-7 to a point where not much was happening in New South Wales anymore, and I needed to do a gearbox conversion in it because I was breaking them every time I drove it, and I couldn't really justify like say 5-6 grand to do a gearbox conversion and then have nowhere to drive the car anyway. So I sort of got rid of that, got my current A86, which is just like daily driving now. It's a fairly simple setup. And yeah, after I did that, I had a friend of mine was actually in Japan, and he sort of half teed up a job for me. And I wanted to do it ever since. Sorry, I made a trip back in 2014. I'm pretty sure it was. So I went over, did the Abisu thing, and just fell in love with how much driving you could do and how affordable it was and how accessible everything was over there. So always wanted to come back after that trip, and then went back to Australia. And then a few years on, a friend of mine was over there. He had some friends, some Japanese friends.
Yep.
And teed up that job for me. So I sort of just jumped to the deep end. I was like, yeah, I'll just come over and see what happens, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. It didn't
So-
actually end up that way, but I ended up at another job. But yeah.
Okay. So, when you were in Australia, did you have a job here? Like, was there something that you were working towards here? I think you already mentioned. Oh no, you didn't. You spoke to me a bit earlier before this that you didn't have. You didn't have a uni degree or any sort of technical qualifications.
Yeah.
So were you working towards something, or you just saying, "Oh no, I want to move to Japan," and you got this opportunity and you left?
I was just working at a logistics warehouse. Like I wasn't doing anything overly. Like I was in a good role, but yeah, wasn't planning on staying there forever. So I didn't really have much holding me in Australia. So that's sort of why I just took the jump. And I was like, yeah, I'll just see what I can make of it, I guess.
All right. So what was the thing that impacted you most when you went to Japan? Because besides the drifting, because everyone watching this or listening to this, is into drifting, but some of the people haven't been before, and just sort of
Yep.
Is there some other aspects that you liked about Japan? Because people just don't know what it's like.
It's just so accessible. Like anything you want to do, there's like a large following for it in Japan. Like doesn't matter how inconvenient it would be or like how small you might think it is. Like they're just like whatever you're passionate about, there always seems to be like a large group of that in Japan, and they just take it. Like they just I don't know anything. I've just
Give
seen
us
lots
an
of
example.
groups.
Give us an example too, if you have one, because There should be
I,
a few.
the most obvious one would be anime. Like anime here is just like non-existent almost, whereas over there, like it's literally a lifestyle for a lot of people.
And so, what did you see? Like, what do they do?
Just like they'll just spend their spare time like dressing up, going into Tokyo, walking around, just doing nothing else but like just enjoying anime, I guess. Like
It's
I'm
not
into
you're
that.
into?
No, I'm not into that, but like I just like that they don't really care what it is, as long as you're passionate about it, I guess. They don't really have like a lot of the shame that a lot of the people here have. Like they'll sort of hide some of their hobbies because they're embarrassed of them or whatever. But over there, it's just like they just go wild.
Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, I think even here it's not necessarily embarrassment as such. It's the amount of shit that people are probably going to give them for what they do.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like that doesn't really happen over there. Well, not as nowhere near to what it does here.
Yeah. Do you think population helps with that too, though? Just the fact that within such a small space, such a huge community of people can be into the same thing, where we're a little bit more spread out here and try and find people of a similar interest ends up being a little bit harder.
It probably does help, but I think like some of the Japanese is very they won't want to be rude to you, like to your face. So anyway,
Yeah.
so even if you have a stupid hobby, like they'll probably just say good things anyway, just to be polite.
Yeah,
Whereas
fair
here,
enough.
I don't really think that happens.
Yeah, you're a hoon, you're a dickhead, whatever. Just get on with it, as
Yeah.
opposed to sort of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I know that we sort of crossed paths when I think we're both still in high school when we crossed paths. You may have only just been into drifting, and we started actually. You started organising online sessions on Oranmore Park on R Factor, and
Yep.
we used to run the oversteer mod before, all these other
right.
mods came along and all that sort of stuff. Do you feel like starting? Because I'm pretty sure you started driving that pretty young, right? You were on the simulator.
Yeah, it would have been like 14 maybe, 14, 15.
And do you feel like as soon as you sort of jumped into a car the first time you're on wet pan or figure out whatever you did to begin with, it made a huge difference to your understanding of what you're actually going out there to try and do?
I think it's very different.
Were you
I
good
think-
the first time you went out?
Well, it's okay. I don't really want to say it was good because I probably wasn't, but
Yeah, but I mean, like by the end of your first night, were you like stringing fairly consistent laps together or early in the night?
yeah,
sort of?
I could string laps together, no problem. But I'd also had a bit of karting and a bit of stuff beforehand, so I sort of had a half an idea what to expect. I think like the simulator to me is like it's good to get into habits. It's good to sort of get into emotion of what you should and shouldn't do. But physics-wise, I've never felt anything that's close to real. Like they all have little tricks that you have to drive around, or they have little understeer moments where real cars don't really. So I always find you have to, even each mod, you have to sort of drive a little bit differently. So physics-wise, I'd say it helps, but it's never going to really prepare you. But I think it's more of it's a good training just to get into good habits, like when you can downshift, when you should handbrake, when you shouldn't handbrake, like steering inputs, that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, because that's why I asked, because I know, sort of thinking back, you would have been one of, the youngest people that was sort of into drift at that time that probably had in Australia that would have had a G25 or whatever setup running on R Factor or Live for Speed at that time, and then sort of came through as somebody who wasn't actually old enough to drive when you're playing those simulators. I know a lot of the guys who were making those oversteer mods and all that were drivers from around Australia. Who actually, I'm pretty sure that oversteer mod was an Australian and an Aussie mod. And I think all those guys were actual drivers, but I think you would have had to have been one of the younger dudes to come through and now sort of continued through to be driving. And yeah, I'm sure there's a few now who are, who are coming through doing the same thing, but I think you would have been one of the original with one of the games with the shittier physics.
Yeah, they were horrible.
Yeah, just go the SC300, 1J and just full power. If you went anything like the S15 and stuff, it was just way too hard to control, so I just stuck with that shitty car.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just interesting to sort of see, and then to end up sort of getting to meet you and follow you so many years after, and seeing how much it had progressed into that passion, just even on that, and being able to drive as much as you could young, has now sort of stepped into adult life, and just the actual quality of your driving is interesting to see. So saying don't take it as gospel what you're doing on the simulators, but definitely get on and learn some habits on it.
Oh yeah, it's a great tool to use, but it's not just because you can do reverse entries on the mountains on the game doesn't mean you're going to do it in the real thing.
Yeah, so clearly Andy does not do reverse entries in the mountains.
Not intentionally, no.
Okay, sorry, I had to try and move my phone around because I think I'm still getting bad reception. So that's why I just sort of dropped off screen there.
It's the Illuminati down in Canberra, mate.
Oh, I think
Malcolm's
it's all
cutting off.
around
Malcolm's
Australia.
cutting off your internet. Malcolm's cutting off your internet. Got too many things to say.
I think I give too many people too much shit, and that's why it's un-Australian, I guess.
I bet you somebody that you've upset works for like Telstra or some shit like that, and they just
Yeah,
totally.
I can totally see that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah.
So after starting in Australia and then doing a bunch of figure eight and stuff like that, have you done much interstate travel with the car within Australia?
No, I've been like even prior to Japan, you mean?
Yep.
Yeah, or just in general, what have you done within Australia?
I've done Wakefield, Graylee. I went to Queensland once actually, 2015. But yeah, I haven't done anything else really. Just Wakefield, Eastern Creek, and Rayleigh and Queensland.
Did you ever do North Circuit, or you only did the South Circuit stuff?
No, just South Circuit. I missed out on all the good stuff.
You're in just too young.
Even Oran Park, I think I missed out on Oran Park by about 6 months. So.
Oof, that's painful.
Blame your parents.
I know.
You drove Oran Park in a go-kart though, right?
No.
Oh really?
I went around the track a couple of times in some of my dad's customers' race cars, but yeah, I never got to drive it.
Yeah. Tearing the dreams of kids apart.
I drove past it the other day actually, and it's the first time I've seen it in probably like 10 years, and it's just like, it's so sad.
It is.
You just want to go in there and drop a skid.
Yeah.
It's funny though, because I'm
As
pretty
Shane
sure...
Beresford always says, don't buy A2 milk.
About what?
Shane always says, don't buy A2 milk. Shane always says, don't buy A2 milk, because the people who owned that are like A2 milk. who owned Oran Park, the track, and then sold it off, was like the original A2 milk people.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
So don't buy A2 milk, even if you've got like lactose intolerant or whatever. Just
I don't even know what it is.
it.
I don't even know what it is.
I don't know. It's like it's got some fancy protein in it, or more of the whatever protein or some bullshit. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah.
That was supposedly the original owners of Oran Park. So.
Okay. Yeah, I
Tearing
don't know who
Andy's
it
dream
was.
apart.
Oh
well. And then I think the first time that I saw you drive locally was South Circuit High Tech, when you drove the silver S13.
Yep.
And from what I remember, you did pretty well at that round.
I guess I was okay. I think I qualified at 11th or something around there. My first battle, the top 32 battle, was against I can't remember his name. It's like a 2J S15 nitrous 265 semis, Hollinger, all that stuff. And I won that because he just straight up drag raced me off the start. But even aside from the start, I got left for dead everywhere else as well. So, but I won that battle purely because I got drag raced.
Well, and that was before they added an amateur series or a street tire series. That was if you wanted to drive, everybody was lumped in together. And I'm guessing you're probably on street tires to try and preserve the car, and it was pretty much just an opportunity to drive south.
Yeah, I just did it because that was the first South day that I'd had the opportunity to drive, and I was just like, yeah, that'll do. Didn't expect to actually get anywhere, but yeah, I was just on. I drove the car there as well from memory. I think I had 225 Rotalas on.
Nice.
Nothing special. Yeah.
Yeah, so even undertired for Pro-Am now or a DCA on 225s.
Yeah, it was not quick. It was just cheap. It was just a fun car. So.
And then who did you verse in top 16?
Top 16 was what's his name?
If you remember the car.
Yeah, it was one of the Three Fingers Neat cars, not the S15, the other one. Yes,
I would have Chebry then.
Chembry. He so I won my chase run, but on my lead run, I missed the gear on the very last clip and lost because of that. So pack it up.
Rigged. And those guys are
rigged?
those guys are high-tech sponsors, weren't they?
Yeah, I think they were then.
Yeah, was the high-tech sponsorship on their car that made Andy miss a gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely definitely.
They slipped some of their oil in there somewhere.
slippery hands. That's shocking.
It's one of those guys like with shades on and sort of like ducked into the paint his gear stick with oil or something like that.
Yeah, 100%.
And then was that your first comp ever?
Yeah, first and only comp I've ever done. Yeah.
That's something you're interested in sort of doing?
I was working towards that in Japan. I was trying to get the FD to a level where I was fairly not ridiculously undercard. So that was the plan for next year, but trying to get back to Japan at the moment is proving to be a little difficult. So have to see how that goes.
Which competition were you aiming for?
I was looking at MSC or Drift Kingdom, I think.
Okay.
Or MSC, Drift Kingdom, or there's another one. I can't remember.
FD Japan.
No. I don't really have any intentions of building a car at that level. I just want to build a coolish car and just see how far that can go. I don't really have any plans to turn it into a Formula D car.
So what sort of things did you need to change? Like what were you, when you said you needed to build the car towards that, what were the requirements or
mostly
like what were your requirements as well?
I just wanted to get a single turbo because the twin turbo on the FD is just an absolute mess. Single turbo, just got some suspension in it, some basic knuckles, and I need to put a cage in it with 2 side intrusion bars. That's pretty much it.
Is that
it's
the
fairly
Jap style cage with the bent legs as well? Is that enough, or is it an actual proper?
No, you need 2 side intrusion bars now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds a bit safe for Japan.
Yeah, it's a recent rule. It's only I think the past two years, maybe 1 year actually.
So I guess, considering we've jumped sort of all the way forward onto that, so once you started making the trips to Japan, were you always in one car, or did you have a car that you'd bought over there and sort of just always kept the same one, or when you went over the first time you didn't have plans necessarily, so you sort of sold it back, or what sort of how did you go about your first couple of trips to Japan?
Well, I only really had one trip before I moved there. That was 2014. I had a 180SX from Power Vehicles, and I actually kept that car up until last year. It just sat in storage. I went up and drove it a couple of times, but it was sort of a little too far to go up for the weekend, a little expensive, so it ended up just sitting there. But when I moved to Japan, I bought a S14, which was like my main car for a long time. I drove that car a lot. So that ended up getting crashed a couple of times and had some issues with the motor. And I've always liked the FD, just a really cool car for me. So I found one cheap, and I've just been trying to chip away at it, trying to get it to a level where it's reliable, and proving difficult.
Put an SR in it, mate.
Yeah, well,
going back to the S14, how easy or difficult was it to get the car? So did you pick the car, or was that just an opportunity that was presented to you and it made it easy? And what sort of things did you have to go through?
That car I just bought off Yahoo. Was just watching it. Had a blown turbo and no shark end, like no rego. So it was like 1,000, and had pretty much everything that I needed. So that was fairly easy. Just my employer bid on the car for me, organised the transport and everything like that, and it just paid the money. It turned up.
So it was kind of easy for you to get. There wasn't really much involved.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Especially like if the car was registered, there's a bit more of a process. But with cars that aren't registered, it's similar to here. Like you just exchange money and take the car.
Interesting.
Although they do have titles, so we don't have a title for the car, but in Japan you need the piece of paper for the car. Otherwise, it's cannot be registered.
Yeah, I've heard about that sort of thing, because that happens with trying to stop stolen cars being sold on and registered and things like that. So yeah, okay. And then
for anybody wondering though, EG's curious on this one because he's trying to get a registered car to do a registered car trip in Japan, so that's why he's so
no, I've already no. So I've done my research with that. So I've got a person that will buy the car for me as well, and then
take all the speeding fines and stuff that you get.
Yeah, something like that. But then I have to get a spot, is what they said. So I need to actually pay for a parking spot as well. And then they said it's fine. I don't need to be a Japanese citizen to get that, I reckon. And you can get the spot I can sort of pay for and get. And I don't know exactly, but yeah, I'm sort of trusting this person. I know they know what they're doing, so pretty much just hand over money. Say like, I want to get that car. This is how much money it's going to cost. Okay, here you go, and that's it. So it's kind of similar, because I heard from other people, like some of the other Australians that have gone over and they've tried to do it through the proper process. It's quite difficult. So they buying a car that already had shuck-in, they had to go through all these different places to get different things signed off, and also some weird things that I can't even remember, that don't even make sense. So they just have to do.
It's a big process. You need lots of paperwork even before you go to get your inspection on the car. Like you have to go to the police station and get approval from them. They have to come and view where you're going to park the car to make sure the car actually fits in that space and that is your space. Like you need a certificate for the space, and then the police have to approve the space, and then you need lots of other similar to you need like a green slip, like a mandatory insurance, and I think that's about it before you go to actually get the inspection done, which is a whole nother big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jesus.
So when this person said they've done it before and for other people, I said, all right, cool. And so they said, yeah, they're happy to help me out with it. So I said, okay, all right, well then, just let me know how much it costs. And then they said, okay, well, when I'm ready, get in touch with them, that sort of thing. So yeah, it is like, it's funny that you talk to people, and then so one of the things I remember is when Luke Fink did his I don't even know. So it's the trip he did with Mez and Pidwell and all those guys. They actually, I think on the day they arrived, they went to a car shop and a car yard, and then they said they found a 32, and then they bought it off that car yard with Shucken, with Rego, and they drove off with it, which is apparently it's really, really strange for it to happen.
Yeah, that is.
So anyway, they took that to Ebisu. I think they had it for a couple of days or maybe a day, and then before I even turned up, they'd already crashed the car. But it was still driving.
Oh no.
But then they'd already and it was actually, apparently the track was actually closed, and then they weren't even allowed on the track, but they just sort of went out there because they didn't know, and they crashed into the wall and squashed the back of the car in. So I don't know what happened to that car. I think that was the year that Streeter went to Ebisu. I'm pretty sure it went back on that transport back to Osaka. I have a feeling, but I'm not sure. I don't know. Anyway, that was my experience. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's not easy.
That's your current still trying to experience because you haven't actually got it yet. So it's
no,
yeah.
I'm just saying that's what I've been told and seen. So yeah, I haven't got
It'll be
one
interesting
yet.
it'll be interesting to follow up on it because even some of the stuff that you said, Andy's pulling faces like, yeah, shit, it's gonna be harder than just that. But it'll be interesting to end up hearing.
Well, if they're gonna put it in their name, it's completely possible. But if they're planning on putting the car in your name,
No, the car's
without
the car
not
can't
in your
be
name.
mine. No, they said they
Yeah,
can't.
I was gonna say it can't.
Yeah.
It can't
But
be done like that.
The spot can apparently.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess can you but I guess can you buy a spot as a foreigner to be able to just say you go over there for business, and if if you hire rental cars whenever you land at the airport for you to have a spot to put stuff in, like would it ever
I don't
work
know.
like that? I wonder.
Like,
yeah, I don't think so. To be honest, I don't think so.
One of the
fuck off, white person.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Well,
That's Japan.
what I keep telling people is Japan's like super racist, but they'll welcome visitors, but they want you to leave. So they'll be really nice to you if you stay there temporarily, spend money, whatever. But if you want to stay as a foreigner, I think they're going to make it very difficult for you. It doesn't mean you can't.
Yeah.
It's just difficult.
As you're finding
out. It's actually good. If you're Australian, it's better. I've had people before assume that I'm American because of the bases and things around Japan. And once they find out I'm Australian, they're actually like twice as nice to me as they used to be.
Oh, you bring me back kangaroo.
So if you can squeeze that in, I would.
So just basically walking around in before you leave the airport in Sydney or wherever you're leaving from, buy one of those Australian shirts.
Yeah, shirt, the hat, everything you can.
Yeah.
I used to walk around
just rock it, and just big Southern Cross hat.
I used to have a kangaroo soft toy in my bag, on the back of my bag, just to make it easier. So I took it out.
I think you look like a local, mate. I think you're
I do,
all right.
but I can't speak Japanese, so I just That's why I had to do that.
You can't speak Japanese yet. You watch Initial D, D1 GP, FD, or whatever you can in the Japanese commentary.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's it. Nice, decisive answer there, mate. Just yes.
Okay.
All right, so let's go back. Let's go back to actually speaking about Andy's experiences rather than EG trying to screw the system. Hey, do you have a passport for Japan, EG?
Me? No, you're not allowed
Do you have a
because
Japanese?
I had one when I was
Oh
a
yeah,
child.
after you're 21, after you're
That's
21, you
I
got to
think it's
renounce and you can
20.
only carry one.
Yep. Japan doesn't
No,
allow
it's a little
dual
bit.
citizen.
Yeah. No, I knew a few skaters who went through that.
So one of the,
American, half Japanese, and yeah, once they hit a certain age, had to renounce.
yep. So they had to pick. I think one of the hit and run guys. I don't know where they're actually from, but I think they're half Japanese, half Australian. So he has Australian PR and Japanese citizenship. So they said they can just still move around fairly easily, which
Yeah.
Wow, that's good.
yeah.
Yeah, the problem is if anything ever happens here, then they can put you on a plane and send you back over still. So I think even permanent residency, you can get deported. So probably not worth the risk. So with the FD over in Japan now, is that just sitting in some form of storage that you're paying for? Is that an employer that you had over there, or is that just sitting there crying, waiting for you to come back in a field?
Right now, it's at the a tuner. I changed because just before I left, I had the car tuned and then had issues with the motor, and then rebuilt the motor, and I went back to the place that tuned it, and they wanted nothing to do with me. They wouldn't. Long story short, it was their fault, and then they wouldn't own up to it, so I had to take it somewhere else. So it's at the new tuner at the moment. He's sorting out a few electrical problems that he found with it, but after that, it'll be going back to where I was living. My employer sort of owns that place, so it'll just be sitting there.
And what sort of work? Did you say what sort of work you're doing? Because yeah, my internet sucks.
I was doing like car export and car part export.
Yeah, okay. And that's just saying you're struggling to get another working visa for over there?
Yeah, I don't really fit into the categories for that at the moment, so trying to find some other ways to get back, whether that's by studying or yeah, there's a couple of ways. So I just got to work out what I fit into really.
Anchor babies? No, you can't do anchor baby to get over there?
It's still a process. It's not that easy.
Yeah, I know. The US is easier like that, but even Australia, it's like you can have a kid here and it'd be just like, yeah, nah, fuck off. We like just because you made a baby here doesn't mean you get to stay here. Like, congratulations
Yeah.
on that one. You can't do like the whole like mail order. You can be like a mail order Australian bride to a Japanese person or something.
A male bride.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it makes sense in Japan, right? Like a bride seats. There you go.
I'll try my other options first. Thanks.
Oh, I'm just throwing ideas out there, mate. The FD's waiting for you. You're like, oh, the FD's not up and running yet, so there's no rush to get back.
Yeah, well, that too. Yeah.
But I'm sure your parents probably want to kick you out of the house from here, so
No, quite the opposite.
don't like you going back to Japan.
Yeah.
And then while you're back here, you're just working with your dad?
No, I'm not working at the moment.
That's why he's on a set of Corsa all day.
Yeah. Training.
That's it. So once you get back over there, so basically the plan is at this stage is just trying to work out what way you can get back over to Japan to keep sort of chasing the drift dream and just keep while you're young still over there and just driving as much as possible.
Yeah, that's it. I'm not sure if I'd ever want to live there forever, but there's definitely a lot I still want to do. So if I can find a way to stay there permanently for a few years, that's definitely what I want to do.
Yeah, and you're kind of setting yourself up for that with the car and all that sort of stuff at the moment. Anyway, I guess.
Can you go? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Can you go over because they give you 3-month visas, right? Can you just keep
Yeah.
coming and going on that. So like you leave, because I heard of people going to Korea for like 2 or 3 days, waiting for like some sort of time frame to kick over, and then go back to
Yeah.
Japan for 3 months.
Yeah.
Think you're doing that?
You can literally do that. You can leave for like literally, like all you have to do is just exit. So you just go to the closest country, and you don't even have to leave that airport. You can just get straight on another plane and come back. But obviously that's just a holiday visa. You can't work on that. You can't make any income while you're there.
You can't do something
So-
under the table.
Oh, of course you can, but
Yeah,
whether you want to, that's up to you.
Yeah, Jesus, dude. Let's full throw this dude under the bus. Like, shit. But I
Plus,
guess
it's
so.
pretty hard to find a Japanese person willing to do something that illegal as well.
Yeah, no, I
You
don't
have
think
to
they
know
will.
them pretty well.
Yeah,
No.
I get the feeling as well, but it's just an idea.
Oh no, you could do it, but whether or not you should, that's a different question.
Yeah.
Did you have a ticket for Oslotto last night?
I didn't.
70 mil next week, mate. Jump on it. You want to live the Japanese drift dream? There you go.
Yeah, that'll help.
Then you can build a track here for all of us instead.
Yeah, that'd be good actually. I went out to London the other day actually to have a sticky beak.
Did you tell them how big a bunch of shit cunts they are and all that sort of stuff for not letting drift and start like trying to punch on with the owners?
No,
No, you're not a real drifter then.
no, clearly.
So I guess at the moment it's just a matter of sitting there here wiggling your fingers, searching online for options, and that's all you can really do.
I've got a couple of ways I can get in. So studying is the big one. So I can go to a Japanese school and learn Japanese properly, to read, write, everything, and I'll get a degree out of it as well. But just trying to work out, because they have different times throughout the year you can start. So trying to work out what courses I need to pass before I get accepted and when I have to do it, and that's what I'm doing at the moment.
Couldn't you?
And is that go easy?
No, you're right.
I was gonna say, is that so? Have you earned and saved up enough to sort of pay for that sort of thing yourself, or is that something parents and all that are going to help you out if you end up going over there to study? Or you can take a student loan.
I probably could, but my employer's mentioned before that he's willing to help me with that, to help me get back there. So that's a really big help.
And you can work under that student visa as well?
Yes, you can do 28 hours a week.
Okay, so that's still pretty decent.
Yeah,
You could still earn okay money on that as well.
Yeah.
But then what sort of costs would you be looking at for going over to do, like, doing the school work and all that as well?
the schools vary a bit, but it's generally about 8,000 to 9,000 a year. And I think it's a 2-year course, so
Okay.
I think the second year is cheaper. So it's probably around 15 grand total. But
Yeah, so not awful when you're sort of paying for the privilege to be in another country. You're not necessarily, without citizenship, you're not entitled to be in any country. So it's not a bad price to pay, and the fact that you can actually work over there as well.
Yeah.
And then is there employment tax high there, or is the tax not too bad when you're working?
I'm not exactly sure what it was, because it all gets taken out of your pay before you get it. Well, the way I was paid, that's how it was done. Like, what I got was just my pay. I didn't get taxed out of my pay or anything like that. But I have heard it's fairly high. Like, for most people that earn, I think, if you earn around 250,000 yen for the month, which is fairly common for Japan, for a Japanese person, you'll actually get about 200,000 yen. So you lose about 50,000 yen, which is like $600-$700 a month out of your pay from tax.
Yeah, fair enough. So that's almost 20% then, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But enough to live on and do all the sort of chase the stuff you're chasing over there.
Yeah, definitely. I always managed just fine.
Yeah.
So wait,
Like,
you said...
I didn't really ever.
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
I I didn't really ever like modify my car much when I was like had the S14. Like all I ever did was just maintenance just to keep it running. So because I was driving every week, so I never spent time trying to improve the car. I would just make sure that it was gonna last me the night or the day or whatever I was doing. So maintenance is cheaper than upgrading.
Yeah, did you say it was $200,000, 200,000 yen a month?
Yeah.
Okay, so that works out to be not very much money Australian. I think $2.5 grand a month.
Yeah.
And that's enough to
But-
live on over there.
Yeah, well, like I'm sure you know from being over there, like if you go out for dinner in Japan, it costs you like $10-15 Australian. Like
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
even like you're lucky to even. It's to live there is much cheaper, and it's like your rent and all that stuff is nowhere even close to here. Like it's you can't even really compare the if you make 2,000 a month here and 2,000 a month there, like you'd be like a king over there compared to here.
Okay, and so that was a fairly sort of comfortable wage for you. Like, did you?
That
Yeah.
wasn't what I was on, but
Oh,
that's
okay.
pretty average, and that's like most people can have a pretty healthy life on that.
Well, crazy.
Depends how much his dealers were paying back here for his supplies he was sending back. Import export. I played that shit on GTA. Just awkward silence after that.
Yeah.
I apologize. So I guess moving forward, if you can get back over there, so you said you want to be there for a few years, but sort of, yeah, what's the deal with being over there? It's just enjoy it while you can and just drive, drift, do experience as
Yeah.
much as you can while you can.
Mostly just driving, to be honest. Like, it's just so accessible. Like, there's been times where 1 week, like out of 7 days, I think I went drifting five times. Like, it's really just if you have the time and your car's like working, you can drive every day.
That's
and it's
crazy.
How quickly you can like progress driving wise just by doing that is just incredible. Like my driving got so much better just from not doing anything crazy, just by practicing similar things over and over and over. And just some of the places I go to, it's just there's no rush. And some of the guys that are there have been driving there for like 15 years plus, and they know the place extremely well. So if you follow them, like you just pick up lots of things, and a lot of them are really friendly. They'll jump in the car with you and tell you where you're being shit, where you're being good, what you can do to be better. And yeah, it's just driving wise, for me, there's no better place to be.
And then is there a further sort of end goal with the driving, or it's just drive?
I've never really wanted to go to like FD or anything, but if someone was going to give me a car and said drive FD, I'd say sure.
Yeah, fair enough. So if you can get back over there, are you gonna, like, I know you already do a bunch with your Instagram account and there's some cool stuff on there, but is social media something you'd use to try and leverage yourself at all, to try and prolong sort of the drift dream? Because I guess that's where a lot of people are doing lots of cool stuff over in Japan or just worldwide, is using social media as a platform to raise their name in the sport. I guess like guys like Adam LZ over in the States, and then even Nakamura and stuff, like he's way bigger on social media than a lot of the, like, he is professional, I guess you'd call him, but still from a grassroots point of view more than a professional point of view. Is it sort of something you'd try and do if you were to move over there more permanently?
I don't know. I've never really used it for that purpose. I don't really. It's not. It's more of like a diary for me. Like I don't know. I just sort of put up things that were important to me at the time, and I'll write a bit of a message so I can look back and be like, oh yeah, that was when I did this or whatever. But it has gained a bit of attention over the past couple of years, I guess, and it is nice to have like good feedback from people. That's always a good thing. But yeah, I don't know if I would ever use it to get myself anywhere, if that makes sense. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no,
Especially when I don't have, like, if I had a clear goal of like, yes, I'm going to go be an FD driver in 2 years, then I'm sure social media would be a way for me to get that out to everyone. But I don't really have that sort of a clear goal. Like, I just want to drive and just see how far I can take myself and my car without turning it into a drag race car, pretty much.
Yeah, that's fair. I just look at guys like Stewie Bryant, where he just started uploading lots of cool stuff onto YouTube as YouTube sort of started up and got invited to all sorts of events over in Europe, and I think even over into the States last year, and that to grassroots events. And I think that's pretty cool to think that even just from not pushing it to try and earn money from it, but just being an online personality has been enough to gain him some experiences like that, where you're living the dream that a whole bunch of people wish that they had the balls to try and make happen and sort of do. It's probably not a bad thing to share, and it already is gaining some traction without you even really doing anything, but just because the story itself is cool. It'd be interesting to see if you, I guess, even if you continued the way you were, if that was to actually leverage into anything like just being invited to other random events and things like that, and just getting to drive worldwide, which seems like what you'd like to do is just experience as much sort of skids wherever you can on the planet, really.
Yeah, that's the goal, really. Like, the main reason I go to, like, I want to be in Japan is for driving. It's not, there is other things I like about the country, but if the driving was in New Zealand or anywhere else, that's where I'd go. Like, that's my main purpose that I want to chase. So.
And I guess that's why I asked too, like, what the end goal was, because most people will sit here and listen and be like, well, if you're going to get that good at driving, well, then you should be aiming for FD, or you should be aiming for D1 GP, or you should be going over to Drift GP in Europe. Like, that's the sort of thing you have to do when you're that good. Like, but I don't think people realize that there are people who are involved from that side of the sport that just do it for the thrill of doing it and just bettering themselves. And I guess that's probably a hard concept for a lot of people to grasp when you put so much time and energy into something.
Yeah, it is. But there's also a lot of people can sort of buy their way into Formula D and that sort of thing, whereas I'm more interested in going into some of the lower levels of competition, because I've seen some of the driving that they do, and to me they seem like the guys that can drive, but they don't have the money to just buy their way in. Or so some of the lower levels of competition actually have some really, really good battles going on, because these dudes are really, like, they're fighting for it. Like, they don't have another way to get in. So I would like to get into that, because the cars are sort of more on a achievable level for me, and some of the driving looks a lot more entertaining than some of the guys that buy their way into Formula D and whatnot.
Yeah, and I guess initial D style sort of going and taking on the locals on their home track or their home road, or whatever, but taking those people on their home circuit, I guess for you is probably going to be a bigger thrill at any sort of level if you can get back over and do the I guess the lower ranked Japanese competitions like you want to, because there'll be dudes, I would imagine, in those series that have been, I guess it'd be similar to going up to doing rally when Barry Clark and all those sort of guys from Queensland show up to an event there, and those guys can do that track blindfolded, probably no hands almost. And I guess trying to do that over in Japan, probably on slightly more entertaining tracks, is probably, it'd be. I think we all get shown the bells and whistles of your big pro level comps, but I guess you being over there and experiencing firsthand these low-level comps, are they stuff that you've gone out and watched and sort of sussed out from a spectator point of view?
Yeah, I've seen a couple just locally. I don't really travel for it, but yeah, it's always good to watch. It's more, I don't know, it just seems more relatable. Like, whereas you go to a Formula D event and like, I don't think I could ever afford any of those cars. I couldn't drive any of those cars. Like, they don't look fun to drive, but some of the lower level events, like, they're all cars that I could have. They all look fairly cool. Like, they don't have wheels sticking out the 2 meters out each fender and stuff like that. Like, it's just more, I don't know, I just like it more.
So
Yeah.
when you say
So-
locally, whereabouts? Are you based? Were you based around Tokyo area? Is that?
I'm north Saitama, so I'm about an hour and a half north of Tokyo.
Okay. And so,
So
what
Honjo
sort of?
Circuit has its own little competition they run throughout
Yep.
the year. There's also a couple of events in Nikko that's fairly close. Scuba's close, but no real drifting happens there. Only a couple of events a year.
Okay. What do you I don't actually follow Drift Kingdom that well. I just sort of watch some of their YouTube videos very occasionally. What do you think about their system compared to sort of the more common D1, I guess, style, because their D1 lights is on now. I don't even know if they've got divisionals anymore.
I don't see that's D1's going really weird. I don't really know if they have a divisional anymore either, but I also see events sometimes and it's like D1 divisional, but they also have D1 lights, which I thought was supposed to be the replacement of all of that stuff. So I don't really know what they're doing anymore.
So yeah, what do you think
Drift
about?
Kingdom seems very, it seems very like back to the core of it, like making sure you're keeping a good speed, making sure you're not just coming in slowly and then just powering through the rest of the course. Like a lot of things that get overlooked now, they seem to be like sort of like an older style of competition. It's sort of coming back to that, I guess.
Okay.
More of technique and like overall. I think they do an overall speed throughout the whole course too, which is interesting because you see a lot of the big grip cars. They'll come in and they'll nearly stop and then accelerate again, and I'm sure for them that would be a disadvantage.
Yeah, I don't really understand their scoring system or judging system, because the videos that we see online, they're very cut down, so like a whole day is condensed to like 20 minutes, so it doesn't really explain much. And you watch like a video sequence and you think, oh, that guy won, and then it's like, no, the other guy won. And sometimes there's an explanation, but other times you're just like, no, they're the winner. I'm like, oh, well, how? And and another thing, again, what you mentioned before about overall speed. So another person mentioned that it's actually time. So it's when the judging starts and when the judging's finished, there's a time. Well, they'll give you speed because the course is always the same length. And then so you start the stopwatch and stop it when they cross the end of judging, and then that gives you like a time, and that's like the speed you get through that section is also part of judging as well. So I think that's why what you talk about with speed.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing.
Okay. I thought
it can promote other things like ridiculous tires and big horsepower and stuff, but that can also be controlled with tire regulations and that sort of thing. So I'm not sure what their controls are. I'd say they're pretty wild, but yeah.
Yeah. So have you been to many of their rounds?
I haven't been to any of theirs. No. I've watched them.
Interesting. I thought maybe you might have been because you said it's one of the comps that you want to get into.
No, well, I was talking to Shinji Minawa about it,
Yep.
And he thinks it's a really, really good one to get into because it's D1's trying to go very electrical and it can be a bit complicated. And he suggested going into like a Drift Kingdom style of competition because it's mostly judge orientated. Like if it's more about the driving than the smoke or that sort of like thing. Technique comes into a big play in it.
Is MSC still around as well?
Yeah, they still have their, but they only do. I think it's a top. Only the top 4 is actually tandem battle for the lower, because there's the lower class and there's the expert class. I can't remember what the lower's called, but I think it's all single runs up until top 4, which I don't know. It's a little. I don't say boring, but it's a little boring for me, I think.
Okay. It's challenge or something, isn't it? Something like that, is it?
Yeah, MSC challenge. I think it's called challenge class and then expert class or something like that.
Yeah, I think. So it doesn't really change much. I know they seem to be bigger before, but then I was told that MSC are now running FD Japan, so while they're administering or something like that.
It's like a feed category for it. I think if you place in the top 4 in the expert class, you can get your FD license or whatever they call it.
Okay. Well, otherwise you have to be sponsored in somehow, like recommended or referred, like some of the international drivers. Yeah.
Yeah, you can petition in based off results. So, I guess I feel like competition sort of almost worldwide have cooled off a little bit. In regards to numbers, quality of driving is, to me, worldwide is up. I guess, as the sport matures, you'd expect the quality of driving to get better in all comps across the board. Has there sort of been a drop-off in regards to, like, all the D1 regional events and all that seem to have sort of dropped off, but have the numbers at those smaller events, do you know, have they sort of been able to sustain, or is it similar
the smaller
to
events
where those numbers?
Yeah, the smaller ones seem fine, to be honest. It's in Japan at the moment. It seems very confusing. No one really knows what's like D1 sort of all over the place, like trying to get into it. So everyone's sort of trying other things like MSC or Drift Kingdom because D1 just seems like they used to have the divisional rounds and then they have like street league or like there was a clear path to get to the Grand Prix level, whereas now it's no one really understands what's going on anymore. So the lower level.
So that's driven people back down to those lower levels, really.
Yeah, I think so. Because all of the lower ones I've been to, they're always fairly busy, and even practice days are always insanely busy. Like they're sold out all the time. So there's no shortage of interest. It's just something they need a more clear way with like levels, and if that's where you want to go, that's because it's hard to know where to start. Because I think even if you go on the like some of the websites for the competitions, some of the lower levels, the links never work anymore. So like you would assume that if you click on like the divisional series, what I want to get into, you go click on it. It's like all out of date by like 2 years. So does that still happen, or no one really knows? So
yeah,
a bit confusing.
And then is it like here where even at those smaller local events, because when I went over to Japan 4 years ago and I went to D1, the crowd was non-existent really. Like it was really quiet, and it was on a Saturday, so there's no reason it should have been quiet. At those smaller events, is it similar to here where at your high techs or your DCAs, it tends to be a lot of other drivers who sort of attend to watch, or is it something that's sort of grown in the public eye, or is it, it's just your core car guys?
Yeah, mostly car guys. A lot of no, I wouldn't say a lot, but it's not uncommon to see guys bring their families out as well. So you get a lot of wives and kids and stuff coming out. Yeah. So that's not something I've seen a lot of here.
Yeah, and the reason I guess I ask is it's just looking at your sort of long-term sustainability of your big budget competition. So it's clear that, and even here, that you can, when it's budget and people can afford to pay it out of their own pockets, that the competitions seem to be able to sustain. But as soon as it starts to reach outside of what a regular person can afford, or what companies are willing to put in, that it seems to stem the growth of that level, I guess, at the moment, compared to where it was when, I guess it's even right back to when you said you watched Option DVD from 2005 or something, when, D1 first took itself to the US. Like, it was huge then, and it grew really quickly from there. Companies were really interested in sponsoring, and then now it's all sort of taken a huge step backwards, and these guys who are, I guess, even professional at that stage now are scrounging to try and put a program together. And you look at a regular person, like, say, even you, for example, if you get to be there long term, say 5 or 6 years, there should be a clear path where there's no reason that you wouldn't potentially be bumped into a drive with a D1 car. But the reality is that would all be having to somehow come out of your own pocket, rather than being like, oh, there's this white kid living over here who's really fucking good, we should shove him in our car. It could be a really good marketing ploy. It would be like, nah, if you want that to happen, try and scrounge some sponsors together and put a program together, I guess.
Yeah.
And I guess that's one of your big hang-ups on actually feeling like you can take it any further than what it is. Am I dropping out again?
Well,
I need
no,
video.
neither.
Oh, that's all right. Nobody needs to see my fucking head anyway.
Yeah, well, just to me, if I was to build a car at that level, like, it would just take me forever, money-wise, and it's just the time I'd spend on that. I could just drive something simple and probably become a double as good driver as what I was when I started building the crazy car. So, if that happened, then I could slowly turn my car into something like that, and maybe. But at the same time, I don't really want my car to be ugly.
Be that.
So.
Well, yeah, and but also, what's the point? Like, what do you drive in the meantime when you start to do that sort of thing? You start to drive up your unreliability, and then you've destroyed the whole reason that you've decided to go over there in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think this is what gets a little bit lost when people sort of think about this huge dream at the end of it. What's the name of the Singaporean? Is from Singapore? Nian, Nian, is that right? The guy who drives for power vehicles or whatever. He's just a rich dude from, I don't know where he's made his money, or who in the family has money or whatever, but has been able to afford to pay to basically go over there and live and drive as much as possible, and then put together a program to drive. And your average young person who's got into drifting the same way you have, that's an unachievable goal, because if you're paying out of your own pocket to learn how to drive, you're never going to be actually out there earning money to be able to pay to do what somebody like a Nian has done. So it's got to go a totally different route to get there. And currently, that's not how the sport's built. It's not built like an IndyCar or a Formula One or a V8 supercar, where you've got these team owners who can profit from the sport, and then they can put paid drivers into those cars until the sport eventually gets itself to that point, if it ever actually goes that direction. For young people, they're sort of, without having rich parents, the D1 and the FD dream really isn't a thing. I personally don't think it's a thing. Yeah.
Even there's a lot of business stuff going on with D1 as well. Like, Shinji can't actually drive in D1 at the moment because he's sponsored by Bridgestone, and that doesn't sit very well with Toyo, I think, sponsor D1, I think. They don't want him to enter because he has Bridgestone and stuff all over his car. So he has to stick with Formula D at the moment. So, like, things like that, it's just, they shouldn't really be turning people away because of their sponsors.
Yeah, but I guess, is the money that one driver is bringing to the series, does it outweigh what Toyo Tires is paying to them? Probably not. So he can sort of sit on the sideline, or he can modify his program if he wants to be there. I guess FDUS is a system where, if you're not a major tire, you've got to be a tire sponsor of the series before you're allowed to be a tyre supplier to drivers. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing they've probably sort of stepped in that direction in some way, and they probably just don't love somebody piggybacking. If you're dropping, say, 200k, 250k as a business into title sponsoring a series, you're hardly going to pay, give one of the top drivers who'd probably do really well in a series, 50 grand to sticker up a full car and then get a whole bunch of TV time or whatever, and then it's sort of like, sucked in, you've invested 5 times that amount and we're getting the same coverage over 50 grand. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny to sort of hear it from your perspective, somebody who's knows a lot of the drivers and knows these guys who are heavily involved and driving at that top level, and that it's something that at this stage, it interests you from a, just loving drifting point of view, but you're a realist when it comes to, yeah, cool if it ever happened, but I'm not going to go out there and try and kill myself to think that that's going to be my end goal, and if I don't achieve it, I'm going to find the nearest bridge to throw myself off.
Pretty dramatic way to look at it, but yeah.
or what's it called where you get the big sword and then you stab yourself? Isn't that some Japanese thing?
Yeah.
How much?
EG, you got the word for that?
Oh, I don't know Japanese. How much Japanese do you know? Sorry,
Not a lot. I can get by, but
Have a conversation, boys.
I don't know
probably not that good, to be honest.
Well,
I can introduce myself, say my name, like ask where that is, ask where this is, ask what that is, like just basic things. But yeah.
But then, do you understand the responses?
Yeah, usually.
If you're asking what it is, you're probably not going to know what it is with the response.
Oh, it's probably, yeah, you can work it out.
That's fair. Carnage, I can see your brain ticking there, mate.
Me? No, it's not at the moment.
It's not.
No, I'm just trying to figure out how I'm gonna try and get more internet bandwidth, because like it's going so shit.
That's all right.
It's anyway.
Blame
The government, yes.
Blame Malcolm.
Bloody Malcolm.
So, I guess with your time in Japan, you would have driven a lot and driven a lot of different places. What circuits, race circuits and private circuits have you driven? You don't have to say names of private circuits, but just sort of, go through actual circuits first that most people would know that you've sort of,
and then add fake circuits later.
Actual ones.
Oh man, this internet's so shit.
Circuit-wise, I haven't done a lot, to be honest. I've done Honjo, I've done Nikko, I did Abyssy, obviously, and I think that's it, to be honest. Circuits,
Wow.
I just stayed pretty local.
Well, what about?
Yeah.
Because you've got a few around. Because you've got I don't even know, actually. They might have closed down before you got there. So there was the one where Daigo was really common at. It's like the one with the bank where everyone sort of rolls up. It's just to the west of Saitama.
It's a really small track, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a small
The
one.
entry's like there's a wall, and then
Yep.
it like goes left off the wall into
Yes.
that's closed now.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know if you made that one, because I know
That's
that
only about
closed.
20 minutes from my place.
Yeah, and then there's Yamanashi as well.
Yeah, there's not much drifting there, though. That's the thing. And when
really?
the event does come up, it's very, I wouldn't say selective, but all of the cool guys seem to get in first.
So let's
So
call that
it's like,
Japanese bring the bash.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. And then a bit further away, which is probably a decent drive, but still attainable, is Mabara.
Yeah, that was something. If that's like, I was trying to get there, but I just once the S14 stopped giving me life, then I sort of didn't drive a whole lot last year. I drove a little bit in the FD, but I had a fair bit of issues. So
Yeah.
I was planning to go to Mabara, and I really want to do scuba. Even the thousands course would be fine, but yeah.
Oh really? That's
Just didn't get around to it.
Where the Yashio, Okachan hires consistently, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what sort of because one of the things I've only been to as a driver to sort of one Japanese well, how do you explain it? So it didn't really cater for foreigners at all because when you go to Matsuri, they seem to cater for foreigners these days. But
Oh yeah.
I went to Nikko for I can't remember. I think it was Drift Wired, maybe.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
sounds familiar. Yeah.
So I think I went to that day, and that's how like a lot of the practice days are run. So I guess it's different to Ebisu. What was your experience with practice days over there?
Yeah, my employer used to help me like fill out the entry form and that sort of thing. So most of the hard work was done for me. But all the driver's briefing and all the rules is all in Japanese, obviously. So, but it's generally common sense, and I sort of understand a little bit of it anyway. So I was pretty safe with it. But generally the sessions are 10-minute sessions, I think, and they have like 10 or 15. I think it's 4 sessions. Yeah, so maybe 15 minutes. And they'll have like a beginner, novice, advanced, and some other category. But that's I think that's a really good way to do it as well. I really like sessions. I don't really like the 1 lap and stop, 1 lap, stop. I think
All right,
sessions.
Shane, relax, mate.
Is that what Shane said?
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like that because you can get into a bit of a rhythm and think about what you're doing, and yeah, you could pull in the pits and you don't have to rush out for you to get back in line. Like it's just, yeah, I don't know. I just prefer that layout, and that's the only layout I've ever had over there. They always do sessions.
Okay. Do they have any sort of quirky rules?
No rules. It's all very much the same. Just black flag, something's wrong with your car. Red flag, you'll generally just come back in the pits and line up, or on the start line, either way. Just all the same, pretty much. They'll sometimes have like a little mini competition at lunchtime.
Yeah.
Where you just sort of do like two solo runs, and at the end of the day, you'll get like a little trophy or a voucher or something.
So one of the
best white person.
Wouldn't be very hard.
There's not many people over there.
Yeah, go.
No.
It's like when I won my drift. When I won my drift trophy, it wasn't very hard either. All the other drivers wanted to spin in front of me.
You're like Steve.
Yeah, I'm waiting for reactions, but I'm guessing my competitor's not watching.
I doubt it.
Rudeness.
A good question came up. What's scrutineering like?
That doesn't exist.
Is it like a guide to say, make sure your car doesn't catch on fire, make sure that you don't have any oil dripping from the car and that sort of thing, and just...
I've never had that.
No, okay.
But most of the stuff's pretty basic done to the cars, not like all the retarded stuff that even a mild build here is compared to what a lot of the guys are doing over there, right? It's simple bolt-ons most of the time.
Yeah, well, I was talking to someone the other day. I can't remember who it was, but they brought up a pretty good point. That it's probably a good reason why is because, like, even when I was there driving the S14, I never really. It was always just maintenance. Like, if I went out driving that week, whatever I broke or wore down, you just replace. Like, there's not enough time between events to think, oh, you know what, I might put a TD06 on my car, or I might, do something crazy. Like, if you do that, you're going to be out and you're going to miss a lot of events. Whereas I think these guys, they just keep it simple, keep it running, and just get driving as much as possible, because they're literally like within a 2-hour radius of where I live. I could go driving every day if I could afford it and if I had the time to. So if you want to drive, you'll pretty much keep your car pretty simple. Otherwise, you'll just never drive.
Yeah,
whereas,
and then you don't have space for 2 cars. So
yeah.
Whereas majority of people won't have space.
Yeah. But compared to here, where you might only have an event every 2 months, you have a lot of downtime. So you're like, oh, what can I what did I drive last time, and think, oh, I could have had more power, more grip, more lock, or whatever you want to look for. It gives you a good window to do that. But the problem with that is it generally spirals out of control. So,
Just with regards to maintenance, I know when we go over there, we have lots of problems finding some spare parts because the way they run stores is different, or actually, I just don't know. So, like, one example is trying to get brake pads for a 180. I just couldn't find any. Like, what sort of things? Like, how do you go about maintenance? Like, just sort of go
most of
through
my
it.
stuff I order off Yahoo. Yeah, I just order it off the internet. You can't get even really simple stuff like power steer belts, water pump belts, or whatever. Like, you can't just walk in somewhere and get that. They don't stock it. Everything's like ordered in, or like, I think the reason is why they just, if there's something wrong with their car, they take it to a mechanic and the mechanic fixes it. It's not like here where you just go to Repco and get, a timing belt or whatever. Like, you can't just, I haven't found any stores over there that do that. I've always had problems with trying to get stuff like last minute, or it's a pain.
So if you say you
You
drop
clearly
a
went
car
to the wrong Japan, mate. Clearly went to the wrong
Nah.
Japan. Japan's a drifting dream, mate. That's it. Like, you just show up there and the drift gods just look after you, and that's just how it all works, right?
Well, honestly, the cars seem to last longer over there. Like,
Yeah, but as you said, people don't do retarded shit like, oh, I've got an event in a week's time, let's put a rear-mounted radiator in it.
yeah, but even something like, say, an SR gearbox, like here you'll be lucky to find an SR with an SR gearbox still behind it. Whereas in Japan, like, they've all got SR gearboxes and they're all running like decent 235s, if not 265 tires.
Yeah.
And they break them, but not like nothing like what we do. Like, people here break them with T28s on there.
It's because we have fat feet here. They only have little Japanese feet, so their clutch kicks aren't as violent, mate.
Probably. They're not as violent. That is very true though. They
Much
drive
more
very
polite.
differently.
So when you say you order things online, how long does that take? Is that because if we order things online, it could take in between two. Actually, Canberra's worse because we only get mail 3 times a week apparently. But
Really?
yeah. Anyway, whatever. So this is Canberra. How long? Because I know I've sent stuff in Japan before. It's pretty good. But what sort of experience do you have?
It's generally depends like when you order it, sort of thing. But it's generally 1 day, 2 days, assuming it's in stock from whoever you buy it from. You have to be careful of who you buy it from, because they could just be someone that doesn't actually have it. They're just like, oh yeah, we'll order it when you pay for it, and then we'll send it to you once we get it. But some places actually do keep stock of a few things, so a bit of knowledge helps get it quickly.
Okay. And what do you do with tires? So, because do you just take them to a shop to get them changed, or do you change them yourself? Do you buy them in bulk?
Yeah. So where I work, because we export parts and car parts, we have a tire machine could do a lot of wheels. So I just use the tire machine at work.
Okay. And then they just get
How
rid
would
of
the
tires?
average person go about it?
Average person would just go to an up garage or anything like that.
And they just pick out, hey, I
Just because
want
you're
those
average,
two.
e.g.
I just
pretty
want those
much.
two, and then they just get rid of it as well. They do the disposal.
Yeah, they do disposal as well. Yeah.
Okay. Easy.
Yeah.
What else? Sort of things. So everything's bought online. Yeah. You go.
Well, I was going to ask, so you've been to only a few local tracks. Have you hit any circuits from that anime series?
Yes, actually, yes.
Just to have a look, right?
And so
Yeah, of course.
I don't know what I don't know what you're talking about. I'm talking about Pokemon. So when you sort of go out to those spots as a foreigner, what sort of response do you get showing up to that? Or are you showing up with, sort of locals that you already know, and then sort of head out to the private circuits, the private track days, I guess?
Well, the first time I went out, I just went up by myself because I went to the circuit on the holiday I went on in 2014. So I just cruised up there just to see if it still happened and all that sort of stuff. So I just cruised up by myself and just drove with a couple of the guys that were there, and I could see that I was like, by myself, didn't really have any friends or anything. So they just came up and started. I didn't speak any Japanese at all at the time, so he spoke a little bit of Japanese and sort of, just gave me a rundown of what happens up there, where you wait, where you don't wait, and that sort of thing, some etiquette. And yes, ever since then, I pretty much just became good friends with that group, and we sort of just head up every week.
And is that always the same circuit, or there's different circuits around that you go and hit?
It's mostly the same. There's a few others that I've been to, but the one that I go to a lot's there's good safety there.
And so, sort of when you're on the downhill and you're not able to keep up with the car in front, do you put your front wheel in the drain?
Well, honestly, like there's parts of the circuit that we've looked at before to try and see if there's room, because you sort of get to a point where you sort of at the limit, so you're trying to find some bits don't have ripple strips, we'll say. They don't have ripple strips, so you can sort of cut a bit tight.
So you guys want to take your own bags of concrete and some tar trucks up to modify your circuit?
Yeah. Well, no, it's more fun how it is. I like it how it is.
You like your asshole clenched?
Yes.
Very nice. Is there? Well, I'm
Where are you
trying
going with this?
to
Where are
keep
you
it as
going
straight and narrow as I can.
Yeah.
No, I'm just interested to sort of know as a foreigner, sort of showing up and doing the private track days.
You should
how it's all sort of handled.
you should go as an Asian person that looks Japanese, going up that doesn't speak Japanese.
What?
That's the worst.
A person that looks Japanese. You look Japanese because your genetics are Japanese. Like, I don't know if you realize that, or if your mum's told you. No, I understand that, but your genetics have come from somewhere else on the planet, mate.
So, and then I come with a camera as well. I have my camera bag, and then they look all sus and they ask, "Are you a cop? Are you a cop?" And
yeah, because there's been a bit of you get a lot of guys from Ibiza who come into that specific circuit, fairly common in the past year or so. And there's actually a bit of a crackdown with police, and it was a few of the guys think it's because of some certain YouTubers that went there and filmed some stuff not too long ago. So they're a bit cautious at the moment of who comes and who doesn't come. So
when you say people come from Ibiza circuit, is that other foreigners?
I think YouTube.
Yeah, because that's how I found out about it in the first place. They told us where to go and check it out. So I'm assuming that's still happening, and it gets a little bit out of control at times.
Yeah, so snowball effect.
I think Connor or Nick produced a video from there.
No, it was some popular American YouTuber. I'm not sure who it was, but they filmed a bit of stuff, and then very conveniently, like within a week or two, there was like a really big police crackdown. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And considering that never happens, it's a bit of a coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's enough to get people talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
It's a bit shitty, really.
Well.
Yeah, and it's also dangerous because they don't understand the etiquette there. They just sort of cruise down, and all sort of things could be happening as they're coming down. So.
Oh really?
Yeah. Well, it's
it's
like you're talking about similar style private circuits to what used to be on a lot of your option DVDs, where they ran the toge up and down on that closed course. So same sort of
Yeah.
thing, I guess, where there's only one way up and one way down, and you've got to run your course continuous. And if people sort of show up to these private track days and think they can just run whenever they feel like it, yeah, I'm not sure I'd want
Yeah.
to see, especially considering most of them are probably, I can take a wild guess and say, from the US of A.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, I'm going to plead ignorance to that one.
Hey, one thing, when you're on these circuits, do you have any sort of radio communication or anything like that? Just out of curiosity.
No, we don't use any, but it's pretty well run. Like you've seen the way they run it. Like there's people directing, like when the cars are coming up, they stop them and that sort of thing. So it is fairly. It's not really necessary, but it would be if it got more popular than what it is, I guess, because sometimes you just can't communicate fast enough with the lights they use and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
So if I was to go up to your private track, and I went in there and it was the regular boys up there and said, "How would you rate Andy?" What sort of response would I get? Would they be like, "Ah, oh, fuck, shitty Australian guy," or would they be like, "Nah, we put him in the middle of the pack. He's super safe."
You're gonna make me look like a wanker now, like I'm not myself.
Nah. There's nothing like that.
You could just ask him where he's in the
Nah,
pack.
there's one guy up there he's been driving there for over 15 years, and he speaks pretty highly of me. Like whenever there's actually another Australian guy over there at the moment, and he's sort of learning through the ropes as well, and he's sort of taking him under his wing and showing him what to do, what not to do. And yeah, he sort of like runs the whole place. Like if something happens there, like someone crashes, he's the man that comes and fixes it, gets it sorted, make sure there's no problems with yeah.
Are these
authorities.
Are these the guys in the white cars?
He's got a few cars.
Because when I
White
go,
cars.
they're pretty common. There's a guy that
no.
comes with his son in a white 32 4-door, and there's a white 180, and there's like
And
they're all like white. Yeah, they're all.
Yeah. No, that's not them, but he knows of them. They're pretty. They've been driving there for a long time as well. They're like veterans of that area.
Yeah, because
They're
every
pretty
time
famous within the Japanese community.
every time I visit, I see them there, and then they say, "Oh yeah, I remember you." So yeah, I remember you too.
Yeah.
So they're cool.
Yeah, no, they're regulars. Yeah, there's lots of guys that are pretty good up there. So you've seen the two courses they run. There's like the 4 corner, which is like just the same corner 4 times pretty much, but it does have a fair bit of a slope on it. So that's generally where you'll get sent to learn, and then once you sort of get confident there, they'll send you up to the other course after the
There's a
the
beginner
tunnel.
course and the advanced course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once you're confident there, I've seen guys literally come up and ask permission to drive there from the guy. Like that's how highly they think of him. So
Yeah, that makes sense. There is like a hierarchy in Japan, like a sort of
definitely.
Yeah, it's different to here, where it's just like you can go up and it's like, well, no, I can do whatever I want. In Japan, it's different. Like you have to ask for permission and things like that.
Yeah. So that's when I first went up there. I just went up to the other course because I found the other one a bit boring. And after like my first lap, he was already like, he came up to me and he was like he just drove with me a few times to make sure that I wasn't like, should not be there, or that I was being dangerous to anyone or not following the rules. But he was completely fine with being there. But I was just completely ignorant to the rules they had.
Okay. So what are
not aware.
these are the sort of things that it would be good to mention because then people would know. So are there any other sort of things that people aren't aware of that they should know?
It's hard because you sort of need to know where the course starts so you can start to be courteous from there on. But without being there, obviously you can't show
So
and I don't really want to show where it is.
No.
Yeah, so
not,
really you
not
should-
on your spot specifically, but I guess.
Well, even like
But it's the
like
same as any
you
other
should
track
only
day.
It's-
go
it
there
should be
if,
everywhere.
Like, if you know someone, yeah, like if you go with someone, don't just go on Google Maps, find some crazy roads, and be like, oh, we'll just drive there and see if we can find anything, because you're probably gonna come across something sooner or later, and it could end pretty bad.
And by road, you mean private tracks.
No, it should be the same everywhere. I think like when we
Well,
go out, we have a system here.
Even if you go to a regular circuit. Yeah, like if you're gonna go to a regular circuit day, if you haven't been on that track before, go and watch a couple of laps first before you go and throw yourself in the deep end and just jump out there and think you know what you're doing. Really.
Yeah.
Well,
Like, at least-
But it is because everyone gets excited, and everyone, because it's half the reason everyone goes there. Like, everyone wants to see it, so everyone just sort of dives in, but they don't realize that there's a lot of, like, you got to remember what you're doing, and you got to sort of keep in mind that it is pretty dangerous, and you need to respect a lot of things.
And you don't want to. Yeah, you don't want to fuck up a local's car either. Really.
Yeah. Especially with no reception, and you to like an hour from cell phone service and all that sort of stuff. It's not fun.
Yeah. Sounds like personal experience.
And actually, no, I've had. I don't want to say luck, because then it won't be luck anymore. But I've always made it back.
Jai sounds like the Shire and the Gong. Revo boy's clearly running amok somewhere else.
there are like unwritten rules everywhere. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, there is. Yeah,
So
it's just I've come across it because I've been to a few of them just by myself sometimes. But yeah, like as I'm going in, like I'm just cautious. You know, I got the windows down, listening for anything in case I can hear anything. But generally, you can see people from far away because of how dark it is. Pretty poor circuit lighting, so you can see them from pretty far away.
all right.
But every time I go to a new place, it's sort of just, yeah, I always ask like what the deal is, where the U-turn points and that sort of thing are.
It just makes it safe. It keeps it safe
So
for everyone then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, have a head on your shoulders before you show up to any sort of event.
That doesn't sound Australian.
That won't work here.
No one
It
told me
sounds
not
more
to do
Australian
that.
than American.
No, the Australians like no one told me not to do that. Whereas America's like I could do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Is he still there? Greg, are you still there? Oh yeah, you're there.
Yeah, I'm
okay.
here.
Yeah, he's
All
there.
right. Okay.
You got people asking if you're coming to Hangs tomorrow, Andy.
Yeah, I just replied, but yes, I'll go.
Wayne Bolton asked, "What's your sort of average tire costs over there for say a 235 as a, I guess as just a gauge?"
To about $60-$70 Australian, I guess.
It's about the same.
Yeah,
Roughly the same. Yeah, it's
I
not
think
too bad.
it's around. You can get some for around 50, but yeah, it's $50 to $70. You get something decent.
Is that fitted?
And then this,
No, I buy mine just off Yahoo, so they just turn up. But I
Okay.
think Up Garage is a bit more expensive. I think they're around $100 for a Kenda.
yeah, still
I'm not
average.
sure what they charge for fitting. So
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
and then
all-
expensive disposal fees, or similar to here, just a few dollars disposal, or no idea.
car tire is like $5, I'm pretty sure, and anything bigger like a SUV is like I think it's $10, something like that.
Yeah, I'm surprised how comparable it is. I thought because they're sort of a little bit more of a minimal waste type society that I thought it might be a little bit more expensive to sort of try and stop people from just going through sheer waste, but it doesn't sound like it's too bad.
Yeah.
They probably all end up in South Africa anyway, or wherever they go.
Yeah, probably down to Thailand or something as well.
Well,
Down
you
to
saw
Laos and places like that.
you saw the videos of them packing the tires in. And shipping them off somewhere. I don't know where that is. You see those videos?
Jesus.
No, I haven't seen that.
Anyway,
I know a lot of ours get done the same.
yeah, they like shove 2 or 3 tires inside one tire, and then
Oh yeah, I've seen that video.
well,
Yeah, it's
these
crazy. Those
guys
dudes
just
must
like
have tank
muscle it in.
arms.
I know they muscle it in. In another video, there's a guy doing it in a machine, and then this guy just goes and he pushes 3 tires into 1 tire.
Yeah, I've seen them do it by hand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
pretty
And then he's
impressive.
going.
Crazy.
I think in his accent, he's saying, "Well, there's a trick to it. So you got to get this in, and you got to twist it a little bit and push it in." It's not like I remember trying to like squash tires. I don't even know how you could do that.
Guns, mate. Just absolute guns.
Crazy. Okay. What else? So in Japan, do you eat out every day, or do you actually cook your own food? Because
No, I didn't. Just some normal. But it's honestly, it's probably not much more expensive at all to eat out every day. It's it's so cheap and convenient there. Yeah, you probably save it a little bit by cooking for yourself and that sort of thing, doing actual groceries, but it's probably negligible after you add up everything.
is your place that you have really big, or is this like what everyone imagines like a really tiny house?
Mine's like a smallish house, I'd say. It's like where we used to work is where I live, or where I was living before. It was like it had 2 sheds, and then there was a house at the back which we use as an office. So like I'm living in that house now, and my cars gets stored, and I work on them in the sheds. So it's pretty sweet setup actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it works out for you. What happens if you have to bring
More
your girl
space
back?
than what they would normally have. Well, yeah, just got to accept the lifestyle. This is how it is.
So is that somewhere more rural then compared to? Is that on the property?
It would be considered rural. It's nothing like Tokyo. Like there's lots of rice paddies and stuff around.
Yeah, so there's like space, so you don't, as opposed to say a Tokyo or a major city where there's specific parking spots. There's like you've sort of just got space to park cars and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I've got a fair bit of room. Yeah.
So with all the way back to sort of the early point about the cops coming out to check parking spots when you buy a car, would they still come out to that sort of property to check that you've got a spot?
Well, they say they do, but I don't think a lot of the time they don't actually come out. Just depends. They sort of just I think it's like a 3-day turnaround, and I'm pretty sure they don't even check it. But yeah,
if they look up the address on Google Maps or something, they'd be like, oh yeah, they've got heaps of space and that's it, done.
Yeah, that's probably all they do. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I thought it'd be really odd if you can only buy a car and park it in specific parking spots, and if your property is huge, but you only have 3 designated parking spots, only 3 cars for your property.
Yeah.
It's like, so you can just fill it up with cars, no sort of drama.
Yeah, well, as long as it's actually fits, like they'll still know, because when you have to like give them a map of where you're parking in the car, so every car will have like a history of this is that spot, and the next to it is this spot. So as long as you're still within your space requirement, it's fine.
Yeah. So there you go, EG. There's somewhere to leave your car, mate.
It could be done.
No,
So you didn't even know I was sussing him out to get your spot.
if it was cheap, yeah. But no, I spoke to some other people about getting a spot because I think I have to get it away from where we normally go, so which is fine. I just had to try and figure it out. I just need money first because I can't afford to actually buy the car or a spot or anything like that. So it sucks.
I've got a great setup. Yeah, if you've got some money to buy a bit of a setup, I've got a setup that you can buy and you can grow some money.
We'll talk about that off air.
Okay, that's right. That's fair.
So what else?
So I set a course the other night when we were running the Toge with Jakey.
Yeah.
you did a lot of undertaking, which is a bit of a Aussie drift thing. I felt a bit upset by that. I was running the nice outside line, and you kept undertaking me. How are you so fast up that hill with the same car setup as me?
If you leave the door open, Greg, it's going to get taken. I can't let out the secrets.
I just want to be better, okay? I
Why
just
don't
want to be better.
Why don't you cut
And
the inside off?
Why didn't I cut the inside off?
Yeah.
Because I was crap and I missed the corners and I ran
Oh.
wide. That's
Well,
why.
then that's the problem. It's not.
Nah,
you
he's
said
just
you
fast
suck.
too, though.
Okay.
Nah, he's just fast. I go to like I'm in second and he's halfway up the hill already. Like,
Be faster.
Big fuck.
Easy.
this guy knows I'm joking, right? When I call it the toast, right? Team red stage thing. Less speed for more, less angle for more speed.
I'm
Yeah,
on full
Dry was
lock.
having a bit of Dry's gone full Mythbusters, and he's trying to work out you know, why you guys think he's slower than you guys, and he's established that it's because you guys carry less angle. Yeah, he
Yeah,
did
but
like
if
a full picture map and everything.
A picture map.
Like he did everything. He had
Yeah, but he's
comparison
got
pictures
got
and all sorts of
Wisefab,
stuff.
and all he does is turn the steering wheel, and he can just blaze the tires. Like he won't be moving that fast. You just have lots of angle, just going slowly.
And he doesn't have the Wisefab. He has the Acostals that he waited months and months.
Yeah, I know.
Which is just a more expensive version of and more premium version of Wisefab. So
It's more adjustable versions of Wisefab. Actually, I haven't even really seen
More-
the kit very much. So.
more adjustable. You can change everything on that thing. Like it's stupid. Like yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Does Dry have more than 2 gears? This is gonna start getting messy really soon.
Yeah.
All right, good night, guys. Great show. It's been nice having you. Chat is now turned off.
No, we won't go through and delete comments. It's all right, except for Greg.
Yeah, is that what you did to me yesterday?
Who?
When I put first in yesterday, as soon as you put the link up, I was like, yep, there we go, first.
No, I didn't. I'm taking the. Well, I've been meaning to say first a bit more tonight, but I didn't. But yeah, no, it's the other podcast that deleted all our comments.
Yeah. Jesus,
Like why?
yeah,
Why would you do that?
I
Just
guess we're
leave
going
it.
deep into because it was funny.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, back to Andy.
Yeah, I know. Back to Andy. Okay. I don't play Assetto Corsa. I really don't. I think you did mention before. It doesn't. In your opinion, it doesn't feel like a real car, does it?
I can relate the two, but I wouldn't say it's exactly the same. No, but it's really weird. Yet you have to drive it a little bit differently, and some of the mods on Assetto honestly feel pretty bad as well. So some of them feel better than others. So it depends what you're driving. It plays a big role in how it feels.
Because I cannot get it. Like, I really can't. I can tell the car's not drifting, but I just can't tell. I do the same sort of motions as I do in a normal car, and it doesn't react the same way.
Yeah, it can. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but when I first started playing a lot of the sim stuff, the cars felt completely trash, but you would just drive them anyway. But so like now that they feel a lot better, to me they feel pretty good. But
yeah,
I know whenever I put mates on my sim, like they struggle to even do like a donut, and in a real car they can do much more than that. Like I think you have to just spend a bit of time on it and get a feel for what the feedback from the wheel is, because it is a bit different. Sometimes you have to sort of give it a helping hand and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I heard about that. You actually have to throw the wheel back, like it just doesn't throw back by itself like a normal car.
Sometimes it doesn't quite have the right force in it that it should. But yeah.
Okay. And do you find Assetto to be the most realistic or just the most enjoyable? Well, why do you play
at the
Assetto?
moment, it's just got the most. I think it's just got the most variety of tracks and the
Yeah.
biggest community online. I'd say at the moment.
It seems to be the most popular one that's ever been around, but I'd say physics-wise, Live for Speed is still tough to beat. But the only downside is the cars aren't real, the tracks aren't real, so it sort of doesn't have as much of a fun factor as like Assetto, because you can jump in a cool 180 or whatever, and you sort of put up with a little bit of bad physics because the car looks cool. But I think LFS is still the king of realism.
Okay, just there's no you can't sort of relate it visually, that sort of thing, and that's it.
Yeah, and also LFS. See, most of the cars on Assetto, they're all additional mods, whereas Live for Speed, you don't modify anything. You just drive the cars as they were. So they're not designed to drift, but you're drifting them, just sort of how a real car is, I guess. Like the way the car reacts is pretty spot on.
Okay, so why can't no one sort of investigated a way to put real tracks in or real cars into LFS?
I think they have, but yeah.
And I'm pretty so like a lot of the modding started with R Factor, and it was an open platform, so they only did really limited tracks and really limited cars with their release, but with the intent of it being like, hey, we're going to give you this base, go crazy with it, like build as much of it as you can around it, and then the LFS I think ended up sort of wanting to build upon itself, and then sort of I guess stopped for a while, and then I think the S3 came out like only a couple of years ago compared to how long it had been out for. And then I think Assetto sort of based itself off a really similar platform as R Factor had, where it was like, hey, we're going to build you this base and we're going to keep sort of creating content for it. But hey, if you want to go crazy with it, go crazy with it. And they've done that. I think the Live for Speed is really similar to iRacing, where it's just a closed, it's a really closed-in program where they haven't made it easy to try and do that sort of stuff. LFS, you can do basic sort of mods to it where you can increase power and do all that sort of stuff, where it sort of changes the back end of the program, but nothing with dropping in different tracks and being able to do that. The one I'm really interested in is if R Factor 2 ever actually took off with a modding community, because they were doing all sorts of fancy tire modeling and stuff like that, but just it seemed like they were way too slow to get it out, and I need to go back and have a look at it and see what ended up happening with it. Just have a play with it with grip racing and see if it's any good. But I think the problem is similar to how R Factor got for a little while. The community base got really, really strong, and that's where everybody was doing all their work. Yeah. And there's a lot of rubbish that comes out for it too, because people are like, well, people are good at modeling and can do quick 3D models of copying cars that are really relevant at the time or really cool, but then have no idea how to do some base physics on it. So try and either steal physics from somebody else's car, or just do something that'll actually slide around a track but not actually feel all that great. Tends to be what happens with games like that you can do a whole lot of mods to. Well, that's what I personally feel like happens. It's like, oh, Adam LZ's car's really relevant, let's make a car that looks like his, and then put no focus into giving a good base setup or anything like that. Or, oh, the Hoonigans built a VY Commodore, let's put that in the game too. And it's like, it's shit. Like, let's just have a couple of base cars and just have some good skids. So
R Factor got very messy as well. Like there was like 100 guys making mods, and you had to go to 100 different websites to get all these mods. And if you didn't have the latest version, you couldn't join the servers. But Assetto seems to be pretty well managed. There's only like a few real key guys making mods, and it's all pretty easy to access. But I found the fact that it just went out of control. There was just so many people making so many mods, and it's hard to keep up. It's like a full-time job.
Yeah, it really was. Like, you go to sign on once and then you had no idea. But I'm guessing the guys who did Assetto were guys based who had been using rFactor at some stage, because the fact they've got a content manager and all that to make it easier, so you know before you go on a server if you've actually got the right the right mods and stuff.
I don't know much about sim racing. I just stick to real cars. I do have a steering wheel, but it only goes like it doesn't do 360 at all. I think it just does like this much. What's it?
So it's a glorified control pad.
It probably does.
It's a glorified
270 degrees.
No, it's literally it is literally just a glorified control pad. It'll have springs inside that pull on something, and that's about it. Like,
I said the other day, actually, it was pretty, like, there's heaps of, like, handbrake setups now, but this one, like, it made me laugh because of how simple it was. Like, someone got one of those cheaper wheels and just turned it sideways and then put a stick on the top.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. Is it actually
I was like, how has
progressive?
no one else done that? It's so easy.
Was it actually,
Connor's video.
was it actually progressive, or was it just still on off?
I don't know. I assume it would probably just be on off. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure it potentially
It might have some progression to it, yeah.
Yeah, if it's an analog steering wheel, even if it's only low degrees but no force feedback, it would be progressive.
Yeah, it probably would be, actually. But I just found that funny because, like, everyone does these really elaborate wiring jobs on, like, G27s, putting in levers and all these additional buttons, and this person just, like, plugged in a wheel, taped the stick to
it. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's how it's done.
Okay. Well, yeah, I don't really have much to add to the sim racing because I don't do it. I do have it now on Steam, but
it's just not real because you don't do it, right? That's just how it works.
It's not real. Cool. It's a game.
Yeah, but I mean, it just doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist at all.
I don't know.
Is there any tracks or anywhere private that you had driven on Assetto before you actually drove it in real life?
Nico and stuff I'd driven before on Sims before I drove it in real life.
And do you think it helped you the first time you went out to get a grasp of sort of what you're looking at when you went out there?
Probably not really, to be honest.
But compared to places you hadn't driven on Sim before you went and drove it?
I'm sure it had a little bit of a role, but the tracks are a little bit different as well. Like, it's, yeah. I guess, like, having knowledge of the general layout is good, but I had a pretty good knowledge of it anyway because I've watched thousands of videos from the place, so
yeah,
sort of already had half an idea, I guess.
Was the track we drove the other night somewhere you'd driven in real life as well?
No, I haven't been there.
Okay.
I looked it up though. It's only like 2 hours away.
just don't run that inside line on the way up the hill and catch those badly placed cone areas.
It's a lot worse now, apparently. Lots of the things they put in the middle of the road, the little reflectors.
I don't know why you put reflectors in the middle of a private track, but you know, that's just the way it is, I guess, in Japan. Clearly the street lamps don't do a good job if they need reflectors. It's a shame they only let you run night events too. Like, it's a bit silly.
Okay. Well, let's move away from that because I think it's you're gonna start finding out exactly where these places are soon. It's the names are gonna slip. and then it's going to cause more trouble down the track.
I honestly don't even remember the name of that track we played the other night. I just was told that that's what I had to download and jump on, and I didn't look at it. I just
Okay.
downloaded it and drove. So
Yeah, well, I'm sure
and I'm
anyone
bad
can,
with Japanese words.
I'm sure people can figure it out anyway. So it's not that hard because some Americans have gotten to places. So I don't think it's very difficult. You know what I'm talking about, though.
We're gonna have Trump. We're gonna have Trump bomb us too, as well as all the high tech boys who fucking hate you,
That's
EG.
right. They'll all shoot each other anyway. Oh, I
Stop
guess I get
texting. What are you
shot.
doing, mate?
Who? Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I've been during that conversation about your sim racing. I've just been playing with this elastic band because I'm not really
Oh.
included in the conversation.
I'm glad we've stimulated you.
I've tried playing multiple times. I just can't get the hang of it. It just doesn't feel like a car, and when I try and do the same sort of thing in that, like a normal car, it just doesn't move like I want it to. It doesn't turn in, doesn't sort of grip, doesn't. There's no like inertia or momentum.
Is that how you feel about self pleasure too?
There's no
Just
inertia, no
doesn't feel like
momentum.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like the real thing, so you just don't do it. I like I was thinking about it.
I have to think about it.
Please don't give us an answer. It was more of it was more like a rhetorical question, mate. Dion Camps wants to know when will the Barra make an appearance at Minami?
Probably once they discover it, to be honest.
So you could start an import-export business from here and start sending stuff over to Japan, and then be like, oh, I need to be over there to receive them at the other end, and I need to go over for business or whatever, and you could sell Barra motors to the Japs.
RB30s get popular over there, to be honest. They're pretty
Really?
expensive. Yeah.
Wow.
They don't have them.
No, I know they don't have them. I'm just surprised that anybody over there would actually bother.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's crazy. I had so many RB30s before. I got rid of them all.
You'd be sitting on a gold mine now because the North Americans love them.
I know, because some American messaged me once and said, "Do you have any?" I said, "Yeah, I got a couple." I said, "Let me know when you get 10." So I sent him a message when I got 10, and he just didn't reply. So... he said he'd pay me $600 each. So, but they didn't eventuate.
Rudeness.
I know. What was I going to say? You know who was actually talking about sending a Falcon over to Japan? Steve Pembry.
He's got no money. It's just,
I know, but
it's not going to happen, mate.
He was one of those typical Australians, wants to be the first to have a Falcon over there. Wouldn't it be cool to have a Falcon at Ibisu?
Yeah, until you write it off and got no way of fixing the bloody thing.
That's what I said. He's no, it's all right. We'll just fill the whole car with like lots of parts, and then he was actually going to ship it back. I said, why don't you just leave it there?
Just why would you ship it back? The shipping's worth more than buying another car here.
Yeah, I know. Actually, no. I think shipping there is not as expensive as bringing it back here.
That's what I mean, though. Like, he could, for the cost of shipping it back or whatever, he could probably just pay for a new Falcon here.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's probably going to be fucked anyway. Knowing Steve's history with
Falcons.
Falcons.
It's a Falcon. That's all right. We'll keep going. Except if a water pump shits itself or any sort of unique part.
Or it runs its course as out of life and it gets pushed off a hill somewhere.
No, it's fine because they've got I-beam chassis. So, have you seen how solid they are? they'll you could crash into so many things and not worry about it.
I like how that's what you're concerned about. Let's just run into shit.
Well,
Andy's like, I'm not driving with anybody with a Falcon ever. Like ever.
well, have you seen the front of them? They got like these huge. Their chassis rails are solid, and they come to this huge plate, and that's where the bumper mounts to. So it's solid. That whole frontal area is like it's like a plate welded onto the front of two I beams, and that's what you're gonna get punted by.
So it's like one of those big custom bash bars that people are building now that are basically bull bars.
Bull bars,
But
yeah.
you don't. But they come from factory like that.
Pretty much. Actually, you know what's actually similar is Connor's Prelude. That has two I beams at the front as well. Like it punted Jake's car in Japan. Did do hardly any damage to Connor's Prelude.
Well, yeah, that's because it's got to support the whole like actual drive structure in the front end of the bloody thing. Considering you could literally cut it off from the front doors and it would still drive around.
Yeah, that's fine. But you can do that with a Skyline as well, like a GTR.
If you cut the front off of a Skyline, it's not going to drive because I ain't got no drive to anything else.
Huh? No, it's four-wheel drive. GTR. It's got front-wheel drive.
Yeah, but the gearbox still sits a little bit further back. So.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
So do you actually have six Falcons sitting in the backyard, mate?
No.
Do you have any?
No.
Yeah. That's disappointing.
He's got to hand back his Penrith citizenship.
There's a couple. Isn't there a couple of guys at Archie that drive AUs?
Yeah, there's a few AUs going around up there now. There's a guy with a VS or a VR Commodore wagon that the couple of times that I've been back there, the car's gotten skinnier and skinnier at the back. The hatch has disappeared now. slowly getting less and less panels, but yeah, the arse of it just of the wagon part seems to be getting narrower and narrower every time I go up there. But man, that dude just steers the shit out of that thing. And I guess similar to what you had said earlier with the whole don't do anything to the car, just get out there and drive as often as possible. I'm pretty sure whenever he can afford to be on track at Archie, that car is at Archie and just gets driven. So, and that dude always asks to run the track backwards. So whenever it's like quiet time, and there's not many cars there, so normally it's running clockwise, sort of running down into the hairpin. He likes to run it the other way so that he can run the wall for as long as possible coming out of the front straight. And yeah, Luke's like, I'm not sure. I don't understand why this guy always asks me to run it backwards, and I'm pretty sure the reason so he can try and make the rear end skinnier. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, Andy wins the 70 mil next week. That's what he's going to build for all of us. Not the car. I'm at the track. Make it happen, mate.
I'll try.
All right. Thanks, mate. So we've got Bamford and Date on the case.
Nice.
We're not gonna know what to do with ourselves, EG.
And Sydney in New South Wales.
Yeah,
drifting's dead.
which track are you gonna go? But
Drifting's dead.
which track?
That's dead.
Yeah, but which track are you gonna go to abuse people? Are you gonna go to Bamford's track or to Andy's track to tell drivers that they're shit?
Don't worry, there's no drifting happening. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
No drifting. No new odds dead. You know, we have to wait for high tech to come back and revitalize drifting.
No other podcasts, nothing.
No. Lucky we're the first and only one. It's a big achievement.
It is. I'm really. I'm genuinely proud of you, EG, on that one.
Yeah, I know. We're the first with 2 hosts as well, by the way.
Yeah, I think we were. Yeah, that's.
I don't even know. I'm just making up shit. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. How many did Stewie actually do? While we're on the topic, how many did Stewie do?
I remember only
Did I do the one?
And
Yeah, and that was
another
like
one.
that was a group.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a that was a cool one. I like that. And then Mez has had his.
Yeah, I don't even know how many people are on there.
He's done a few episodes. Have never actually listened to it. I'll admit
Yeah.
to that. And then there's the dudes who started just after us. I'm pretty sure they started just after us.
It was
Around the same time,
very
or I don't-
similar. Yeah, I
Yeah,
couldn't
time
tell,
period.
but because we did a few tests one beforehand, so that's why it was
Yeah.
kind of a bit sort of interesting.
And then, okay. Let's call it that. That was a dead heat. And then this most
No, we were
recent one.
first. We beat them.
Yeah. So we're definitely the first.
Yeah. Um. Okay.
And it's just like, oh, can I go play
I
a Saturday
know.
course? Like, you guys He doesn't have a job, so he's got nothing else to do tomorrow anyway. So he can sit here and shut up and listen.
Jeez.
So if you don't actually get a job or way back in Japan, will you go back on a visitor visa anytime soon?
I'm trying to actually get the tuner to get my car ready because I'm thinking about going over for the Macquarie coming up now.
Oh, really?
Just
Yeah.
be careful. It's gonna be a dickhead there in a prelude. There's gonna be another couple, I think, in 180s or something like that. Just There's a dude who looks Japanese, doesn't speak a word of Japanese. Just don't let him drive anywhere near you. Just be careful.
Actually, that's probably good advice because I'm going to try and move my oil cooler so I can actually get closer to people and not worry about it.
Yeah, good luck, Andy.
Is it?
He's messaging now. Don't bother getting car ready for August.
If there is smashes and things like that, do you get them smash repaired in Japan or do you do it yourself?
I've done it myself, but yeah, I only need to make it drive again, not to make it pretty.
Okay, so you won't pay. You haven't paid for a professional job or like a job through a shop.
No.
Okay. What about things like gearbox rebuilds or any sort of maintenance work? Have you had that done in Japan?
No gearbox rebuilds as such. Things like that seem to be more expensive than what they're worth doing in Japan, or even here as well, I guess. Can get a gearbox relatively cheap, so just change.
It was weird because when I was asking about a gearbox rebuild for my SR, including a replacement second gear, I think they only asked for about $700 as a rough estimate in Japan.
Yeah, okay.
Whereas in Australia, it would be about $1,200-$1,300.
Yeah, that's a bit cheaper, but I think an SR gearbox is around like 40,000 yen-ish in Japan, so like $500-$600.
Wow, that's expensive.
Yeah, probably.
Is that second hand? That's second hand, isn't it?
Yeah, that's just stuff that I've seen in Up Garage and stuff. I'm sure you can find them cheaper on Yahoo and that sort of thing, but they seem around 500, 400-ish.
Okay. And I think there used to be a Japanese version of Facebook called Mixi. Have you used that before?
Yeah, I've seen it. I haven't really used it though.
Because I heard it's a dying sort of social media sort of thing.
Yeah, it is.
But
Sounds
people
shady.
still go on there to buy and sell parts, and that's where I got my gearbox from, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of gum tree like things actually.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
EG found some box on Mixi. It's good to know.
Yeah, I had to drive
Japanese
all the way
Craigslist.
down to Gunma for it as well. It's like 4 hours
Was it good
away.
box?
Yeah.
It's still
Was
going
it a good
strong.
box though?
Yeah.
Still going strong. That's good to
Nice and tight.
know. Oh Jesus.
It's probably going to break now.
You jinxed it, mate. Knock on
Yeah,
wood,
I know.
mate.
Yeah.
All right.
There's
Anything else? Anything else you want to cover? Anybody you want to abuse while you have the opportunity? Andy?
I don't want to abuse anybody.
Ah, that's a bit disappointing.
you should at least abuse Greg anyway.
Yeah.
Everyone comes on and does a little bit of Gerg bashing when they're on here.
Go bashing.
He already
Yeah.
bashed me the other day by kept undertaking me when I was shit. So I think he's done enough of that.
Yeah, that's
I'd
enough.
I'd like him to get a microphone when he's playing, so on Discord he can actually yell at me, teach me a thing or two. But instead he just goes
I prefer
silent.
the silence because it makes you
Nah.
wonder.
Yeah, but then I'm talking to you, and yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. It's kind of like how I live my life, I guess. I speak to people and I don't get a response. That's why I like doing this show.
You guys
forces
live
conversation.
in Sydney. You guys live in Sydney. You should just give him a microphone, Greg.
I should what?
Just give him a microphone. Actually, I've got a microphone here.
He's from Penrith, and I'm from like
Yeah, you're
close
in
to
Sydney.
the. Yeah, but it's like
the
like
same
saying like
city.
you're in Tokyo. Yeah, it's the same city, but it's like
Ah, you're right. Just
an
drive
hour
over
and a
there.
bit apart.
He's too upper class. He won't come out here.
I know.
I'm so
Way
upper
too
class, I
snobby.
can't afford to move out of home. Yeah. Look, at least I'm honest. So I guess the next time we catch up with you, you'll be over in Japan, fully living the dream, in your drift mansion, making billions and driving in D1 and FD, and you'll make Daigo your bitch.
Sure.
That's Andy's Japanese dream that we heard here tonight, guys.
Also, before you go, or before we end the show, not before you go, but is there anything you sort of recommend that people check out when they go to Japan? So like, because a lot of people go over there, they go the normal sort of thing. They go to Up Garage. There's a car person. They go to Up Garage. They might go to, if they're in Tokyo, to Mega Web, to the Toyota Showcase kind of thing with all that stuff there.
Yeah.
But is there any sort of thing that might be a bit sort of hidden away or people don't know about that they should check out? One of the good. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Probably something non-car-related, but Mount Fuji is actually really, really cool. Like doing it, you can do a bit of a walk up it. You get a bus like halfway, and you sort of walk up to however far you want. It's actually something that I'm really glad I did because that was really, really fun. Car-related, I'd probably go check out the Initial D thing they do, where the actual Mount Aquino is like the real one is. It's actually a pretty cool thing to see, and they have like a little cafe there with lots of like Initial D styled food and things like that. Like they got a couple of simulators up there as well. It's a pretty fun place.
Yeah, I went there once and I couldn't figure out what the food was because it was in Japanese, so I can't read it. But it looked like it was refrigerated, or I didn't know if it was actually.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is, but it's just themed. It just has like colors. So like a yellow one will be like the RX-7, and then like the white and black one's the 86.
Yeah,
like,
I get that.
I'm
but
sure
I
it's
don't know
not
what it
good,
was.
but like it's just
Yeah. Did you eat it, or you just sort of looked at it?
No, I didn't
Oh,
eat it.
that's cool. Okay.
I just wanted to look at it. I was like, yeah, it's nice to see. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, they got like a few cars on display and things like that Valside RX-7's up there, a couple of 86s and FDs up there, and they do some demonstrations sometimes as well, like some reenactments from
Oh, really?
the movie and things. Yeah, there's like a car park across the road.
Yeah.
They do some like reenactments and stuff over there, so that's probably something pretty cool to look at.
Another thing was when we were up there, we always go past. There's like a museum of some sort on the other main road on the other side. Have you seen or heard of that before? I think it might have been covered by either Alexi or maybe someone from Speed Hunters.
Yeah, I think I've seen it from Alexi. Yeah.
Have you?
That was the first time I'd heard of it. No.
Okay. Because every time it goes closed, so I think we've been there 3 times. It's closed.
All right.
Yeah. So we just get the timing wrong.
Yeah, it depends sort of what you're really going there for. mean, if you're going there for car stuff, it's pretty self-explanatory. I think there's no real hidden secrets. There's no, like all the workshops are on Google Maps. Like you can punch in any of the shops you want to go see and hire a car, go out and see them. They're generally pretty welcoming as well. If you're into just like, you can just stay in Tokyo for a couple of days and just walk around the streets and just like, you'll find so much stuff to do.
Yeah, it's cool.
You just, every street you walk down, you could spend like an hour in.
Yeah, nice.
So heaps going on.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, all right. Well, we better wrap it up because Greg's falling asleep.
Good.
Is there anything you want to plug? Any shops, sponsors, Instagram? I know you got that. YouTube, you probably said you don't have anything.
I have one, but I don't really. I just put up long sessions that people don't really watch because they're too long.
Okay. And what's that?
It's just my name, Andrew Date.
Okay. All right. And just Andrew Date on Instagram as well, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, Andrew Date, no gaps.
No gaps.
Well, like no dots, no underscores, no nothing special. Just Andrew Date. That's it.
Yeah. I get you. Okay. Cool. All right.
Or some more basic people might not. So next week we already have our guest lined up, which is pretty good for us. I'm surprised we're that far ahead. Troy Lipshinsky from South Australia, former Madhouse team member, now Lone Wolf, is going to be on. He drives an R31 Skyline and has done all of the DCA National Series this year and is sort of trying to build his social media profile. So we've got him on next week. I'm going to endeavor to do my best to try and get an internet source as soon as I arrive in Germany, and hopefully I will bring the webcam and a headset and try and do. We will be the first Aussie Driftcast to be done from different sides of the planet with two hosts
Yes.
from other sides of the planet. And hopefully I'll be able to do that. And hey, I'll actually have better internet than you, more than likely.
Yeah, probably. You can just do it from your phone.
No, I'm going to do the full setup, man.
All right. Okay.
I'm taking a little laptop over anyway, so the webcam takes up no space. So yeah, we have Troy. We'll get our poster and all that up soon, which is, man, we're just so organized with this one this time. And then the week after that, you're gone, and I'm not sure what the plan is. That's the day after I get back, so we'll work out in the next couple of days what we're doing for that week.
Yeah.
Maybe we can just do a live call into you.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find someone in Japan, and then maybe Andrew can help out if he's there.
Oh, you won't have started driving on that Wednesday, will you? You will only just have arrived.
No, I should have a day in at least. Hopefully, I've got a
Okay.
couple of things to do, but hopefully I'll finish those. One of them is turbo off, which is annoying, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
cool. All
Yeah.
right, well,
Yeah.
that's
Let's
about it.
wrap it up there, and yeah, that's it. So we'll catch you guys next week. Thank you, Andy, for coming on and letting us abuse you and do all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I'll catch you on the Assetto, and I'll talk to myself while I drive with you.
Alright. I think they're on now. I'm getting lots of messages.
Oh, you don't need to hang up, as Greg's always said. Unless you want to, then you can.
Yeah, you don't have to do the awkward Kirsten's mic drop.
I was expecting that,
Nah,
but
it's
anyway, yeah. Thanks for coming on. So yeah, I
alright.
guess we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right. Well, let me just. Shit.